Hello.
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 Welcome to Arcadia Night 2020.
Oh wait.
Welcome to Arcadia Night. We good?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. Are we good, everyone? We want some messages. Can you hear us? We want some messages on the YouTube.
Do we sound crisp? Me and Mal have new mics.
Yeah. They need to be crisp, right? So, hello, everyone. So wonderful to have you all here. One of the biggest crowds we've had for an Arcadia event. It's great to do it online. It's the first time for us. And what a night we've got in store for you all. Firstly, would like to say that Arcadia Night is brought to you by Biome Collective with some amazing partnership and support from InGame Dundee. Just like to apologize for no closed caption in these videos. We'll be rectifying this when we upload these videos onto YouTube after the event. We ran out of time, unfortunately, for that. So it's a bit frustrating. Big thank you to all the team involved. We'll do more thank yous at the end. I'm Mal from Biome Collective.
I'm Susie. Thank you. I'm Susie from Biome Collective.
And also Jung-in.
Hi, I'm from InGame.
So I will be, myself and Susie will be hosting this evening. I'm taking care of the kind of some of the admin on one side. Susie's doing some more of the kind of streaming stuff. Jung-in will be listening to all your wonderful comments on YouTube. So please do ask questions, get the conversation going. Obviously this is being streamed live on YouTube. Wonderful to have you all. We're also streaming this on the Biome Collective Online Gallery. So there's a digital screen where the YouTube feed is being fed in. So if you want to experience the Biome Gallery, do follow that link. It's quite a cool kind of interactive space. And obviously towards the end of the evening, we will be going over to the Biome Gallery for the after party for some awesome games and music. I'm sure you'll all have a wonderful time. Cool. We've got such an amazing array of guests. We're really, really proud. Like just wonderful, wonderful guests that are going to share some cool stuff with you all. Susie, have I missed anything? Are we good?
I think we're good. Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
We'll be chatting to the speakers after the first few. So any questions that you ask in the chat, they'll hopefully be able to answer them then.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're also going to do some game showcases as well, which would be nice, and an exclusive interview with the Bitloom guys, which would be amazing. So we are going to start proceedings just on time. We're going to start with our first guest. So I'm going to get Amy into the room first.
And maybe I will come back for Q&A later.
Cool.
Maybe. We hope you'll definitely be back.
Yeah,
but kick me out.
So, hello, Amy.
Hello,
Amy.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, wonderful to have you. Let me just start by doing a quick intro to Amy. Amy Parent is a 20-something queer trans woman living in Dundee, sunny Dundee, just like us, Biome Gang. I had to include Amy's full bio because I think it's quite awesome. So during the day, she's working on becoming a space doctor, studying the strange clouds you can find in failed stars. And during the night, she's learning to wield a lightsaber, draws, makes games and planes for flight simulators, and watches lots of queer TV. So over to you, Amy. We're going to just mute ourselves and put our videos off.
Cool.
Am I good to go?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Right. So hi, everyone. So as Mal said, I'm Amy. I'm a queer trans woman, and I'm a massive fan of rom-coms. Like, I love a good rom-com. I love a good romance on screen. Now, the problem is being a queer trans woman, watching mainstream media is a bit like trying to walk through a minefield. Finding a character that looks like me, that is trans, that is queer, is already rare as it is. But then when it does, more often than not, trans people on TV are just treated as the butt of the joke. And then even if they're not, chances are their whole character arc will be about some kind of transphobic event or something like that. And then you have the kind of like the most you'll get most often is the queer character will get to a happy place and then they'll get either killed off or they'll get kind of removed from the show through some external events. And so because of that, you can never really quite relax all the way when you're watching TV with queer characters, because you're always on edge. You're always kind of wondering, okay, what's going to happen to them now? Is there going to be a bad joke about them just now? It's kind of stressful. And so what I wanted this 3-minute talk to be is my love letter to fan fiction. If you're not familiar with fan fiction, what it is derivative works. So the idea is that someone writes a story using characters or a universe, or sometimes both, from an existing work of fiction. And there's, especially in 2020, which has been a difficult year and the lonely year, it's been a little queer heaven for me. There's multiple reasons for that. The first one is that it is safe because you know what you're getting into. You know the characters, so you know you can find pretty much any relationship, be it real on screen or not. You know you will find fan fictions about it. But you can also pick a genre. You can pick the outcomes. You know that if you pick like a enemies to lovers fiction, you will get the angsty period at the beginning, but that it will end well, and you don't have that element of stress and surprise of, oh my god, are they going to be treated well in the end? And better than everything, most of the time these fictions are written by people who are just as queer but also love those characters just as much as you do. And sometimes when you watch TV, you get to the point where you wonder, it's like, do the people that created those characters actually love them? And in fan fiction, I've never had that doubt. It's safe, and it can be whatever you want it to be. If you're straight and you want to read about your favorite straight couple, you will find fiction about it. If you're queer and you want to read about your favorite queer couple, you will find fan fiction about it. And you might argue that, oh, but all of this is just, it's a lot of tropes. But then again, TV is full of tropes as well. And having these tropes in fan fiction is for me a safety mechanism. But I know I can pick up a good book essentially and read it, and because it's full of tropes, yeah, I might roll my eyes once in a while, but I'll know exactly what to expect, and I don't have to be on edge. I can completely relax and get into the story. I can enjoy the angst because I know the angst will be temporary and not used as some device to kill off my favorite queer characters. So I don't have much of a point past that, beyond the fact that fan fiction is amazing, and if you've never heard of it, I recommend it. Google it. Look for fan fiction about your favorite characters on TV, and you will love it. I think I've read maybe about 50 to 60 novels in 2020 since we started locking down, and out of all of these, I think about 3 are books I bought in a bookshop. All of the other ones are just things I read for free that were made by queer people like me about the characters they love, and that's helped me so much in 2020. So go fan fiction. And that's pretty much my talk. Thank you.
Woo!
Woo. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Please.
Again, thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. So please stay with us for the first Q&A in about 20 minutes or so. That was really awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've got questions that I want to ask, so we'll have to wait till then.
Be ready.
Questions.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So we'll see Amy back a little later. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
And now, moving on to our next guest. Actually, our next guest will be joining us for the QA, but Adam's actually provided the video. So I'll just introduce Adam, and then we'll start his video. So Adam's another amazing person. I think I would say everyone, I keep saying everyone was amazing and wonderful.
Amazing, so fantastic, wonderful. Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. So Adam Campbell is a co-founder of POC in Play, or People of Color in Play, and a director of product at Azumi Da Vinci. He's also a member of BAFTA, and he's an amazing, an award-winning producer with an extensive amount of experience in the games industry. I mean, lots of amazing experience. So lots to learn from Adam. So we're gonna roll his presentation now. Thank you.
Cool.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam Campbell. I'm Director of Product at Azumi Da Vinci and co-founder of POC in Play. And today I'm going to give you an interesting talk. I studied games technology at City University of London, and my first 2 roles in industry were first with Jagex in community management for 1-year placement, and then I moved on to Sega as a QA tester working on console titles before I graduated. Since then, I've gone on to build a career of 11 years, working at multiple companies. These include OpenBet, which is a casino games company, part of SU Digital, Miniclip, Hopstar, and Azumi, which is my current role. I'm also co-founder of Europe's largest D&I organization for racial inclusion in games, POC in Play. I'm also a member and judge at BAFTA, a board member at Yuki, and I'm also on the advisory board for Children's Media Conference. Over the course of my career, I've worked on a number of games and platforms in various roles: community management, QA, production, and publishing. Projects I've been involved in include the award-winning Manor Monster, RuneScape, Crush 3D, Azumi Kids and a number of associated games and platforms, Lego Legends of Chima, Hopster, educational TV and games for kids, Da Vinci Learning, Superhot, Motocross Nitro, and many more. It's a form of production which is decentralized and geographically dispersed. This can be anything from working with staff and/or agencies throughout your country, all the way to working with people across multiple countries or continents. My learnings: 1. Communication. They say communication is key, and this couldn't be more important when you work on distributed projects. Keeping in touch and in a loop about the goings-on of a project are clearly important, but you need to be super flexible when it comes to working in a more distributed fashion. I've learned that it's really important to be sensitive about language barriers in particular. Not everybody speaks English natively, and this is equally relevant for any language. Some people love speaking on the phone, some people love instant messaging, and many stick to plain old email. When it comes to speaking to people across continents, consider that the method of communication should allow both parties to express themselves and convey information clearly. I've been in a number of situations where writing to each other via instant messaging is not only quick, but it still allows the recipient to take a bit more time to use translation tools or just to think things through. I've managed project communication entirely over instant messaging before with no phone calls. It's also really important to think about time zones. How can you localize your own working schedule to accommodate time zones? Is there time that is better to start in order for you to speak to a team in Pune, India? Or perhaps when you're talking to a client in Malaysia, there's a better time to be communicating with them. 2. Tools. The tools we use in production have always been important. Communication with platforms like Slack or Discord, project management tools such as Jira, Asana, Trello, and Basecamp, file sharing and version control, Drive, Dropbox, GitHub, Tortoise SVN, etc. Video calling tools like Meet, Zoom, Skype, and many more. These are equally important and maybe more so when you're working with external parties. Tools should be accessible and easy to add guests or to customize permissions. What works in this sense internally is not always a great fit outside. I've definitely learned that myself. Do the tools need to be localized? Are there tools and platforms that are known to work better in low connectivity environments? Are there people who move around and require mobile access? And are there any territorial restrictions? Because, be aware that social media platforms are not available everywhere. Tools should make it easier to facilitate communication from the previous step and also allow easy sharing of content and documentation. 3. Process. I'm a product director and I manage strategies around product development and work with projects and product management processes all the time. But I know that process can scare people. Process should really be your best friend. A good process ensures that everybody knows the key stages of the project, sign-off points, deliverables, emergency or recovery strategies, and general ways of working. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all process, but there are many good practices that have been used for many years. Whether you're lean, agile, waterfall, or whatever, make sure you build a process that works for everyone in the team. There's no harm in modifying processes to accommodate different functional areas and different ways of working. And this is equally true of the tools and communication methods that you use. And that's me for today. You can find me on Twitter, AC_revolution. You can find me on LinkedIn /justac. You can email me, adam@azumi.com, contacts@pogplay.org, or you can visit the Pog in Play website, www.pogplay.org. Thank you for your time. See you soon.
Amazing. Thank you, Adam. I think it's an interesting time for all, and it's such a smaller world nowadays. I'm doing some recent project with some friends in Indonesia and Malaysia, and the time zone stuff makes it quite tricky. And also just like the whole thing about, people use WhatsApp and all these different tools is really, really interesting to see how people do things differently. So Adam will be available for the Q&A. So do keep your questions coming in. I suspect we won't have too many questions, but hey, why not? Why not? Next we have, in fact, let me invite Danielle into this Zoom chat.
Very excited.
Absolutely. Hey,
Hello.
Danielle.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Thank you.
Good stuff.
So welcome. Let me just do a quick intro and let you do your thing. So
Okay.
great honor to have Danielle. Danielle's an amazing content creator, Twitch partner, EA Games changer, and a self-taught 3D artist. Since 2015, Danielle has taken it upon herself to learn 3D modeling so she could create her clothes and accessories so that she could feel more represented in games that she frequented, such as The Sims 4. I think this is an amazing demonstration of what the power of games and the power of us as individuals to actually partake in our activity and to be creators, be game developers ourselves. So over to you, Danielle.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, guys.
It's all right. Good to
So
go.
I have a little presentation. That's all good to go, yeah?
Yeah. Just go ahead and share your screen.
Awesome. Okay. So, hello everyone. How are you? Good evening or happy time zone, depending on where you're tuning in from. Hi, my name is Danielle. Thank you so much for the intro. So I'm a full-time content creator, a Twitch partner, EA game changer, and an advisor. And I am also the co-founder of Black Twitch UK. So today I'm going to be introducing you to a world of culture that I have created through The Sims 4. So, the Simming and gaming community know me best as Ebonics or Ebonic Sims. I chose this name initially when I joined Tumblr in 2015, where there was quite a lot of custom content available for The Sims 4. All of the hairstyles that you see on these Sims right now are hairstyles that I have created for the game, because mainly there isn't much available for us. So it has taken me some years to kind of hone my craft, but we've got there eventually. So I've always been a gamer, but I pretty much haven't been able to see myself in games. Custom content is game content generated by the community, and it doesn't come as part of the game. So essentially people download these mods and then put them in their game. And it gives the game a little bit of extra spice, you know? I mean, I created the hair that you can see in the picture right here, but my sim would be nothing without her custom content. So what you see on her right now is like her skin tone, her lip gloss, her eyelashes, her top. Those are all custom content, and she wouldn't look the same without it. So I got into creating my own custom content when I really began to feel like I could not play a game that represented me. I didn't feel as though The Sims gave me the content that I needed to fully represent myself. So I said, okay, we can do this. What can we do? We can do this. And so we did. And the rest is pretty much history. So I don't know about you, but whenever I play a game that gives me the option to create a character, I'm always going to make one that looks like me. So the most disheartening thing is to find that there's either very limited or absolutely zero content available to enable me to create a character that I wanted. So representation is key when it comes to the importance of kind of filling the gap within the sim community, for me especially. It's been really important for me because it's a game that has meant a lot to me for 20 years. That's how long the game has been around, and I've played it for so long. But this kind of generation of the game, the 4th generation, I really decided that it was enough, and I wanted to make a difference. So when it comes to creativity, I've had unlimited in access to inspiration, unlimited. The world is pretty much my muse. I'm able to be as creative as I want when creating hairstyles. And when it comes to us, I mean, we are pretty diverse when it comes to hair. All of the hairstyles that you see on these Sims right now are also hairstyles that I've created. Our hair is so diverse, and it comes in many different textures and styles and colors, and I've got the opportunity to try and capture us in all of our beauty. So when it comes to inspiration, I was recently approached by a writer who was writing about young Black Sims 4 creators, and they actually all mentioned me, which it was really touching to know that. In a way, it's a bit of a snowball effect. So if I've inspired 4 creators to start making custom content to make sure that we're represented, that then inspires 4 of their own, and producing 16 new creators to add to representation within the community, inspiring others to see the importance of representation in a game that they love, and it's really game changing. I am a self-taught 3D artist. By craft, I'm actually a psychologist. So by trade, sorry, I'm a psychologist. I have a degree in psychology and counseling. So this is completely not what I went to school for, but it has led me to create a kind of a life and kind of motivation and drive to want to do something different. And this is definitely the path that I see myself going on. So, I mean, The Sims isn't the only platform with issues when it comes to lack of, customization, character customization, and the lack of range. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of NBA 2K, which probably has one of the most robust create-a-player engine, and it's by far the least limited of all the games that I've played. However, games that also have quite robust creator character engines, such as Black Desert Online, Monster Hunter Iceborne, Animal Crossing, there's still the issue of kind of the lack of skin tone ranges, improper lighting, black and brown skin, lack of hair options. There's still a lot of work to do kind of within the gaming industry when it comes to representation. So, it's not just The Sims, I am seeing it everywhere. And, Animal Crossing is the most recent example of games who are patching in kind of content to make it feel a bit more representative, sorry. But in my head, I'm like, That's great, but you actually came out in 2020, so you shouldn't have to be patching in these things. These essentially should have already been in the game. So I'm kind of tired of us being the last thought when it comes to these kind of things. Why is our representation, why is us being seen in the game a last thought? We actually need to be kind of at the forefront when it comes to all over across the board. And I'm not just talking about us, I'm talking about people of color in general. We need to be at the forefront of if you have an option to create a character, to make sure that all of your player base can feel represented. The Sims has also followed the process of patching in additional content with their huge skin tone update. So this was updated 2 days ago, and I'm actually really proud to say that I helped advise and consult the Sims team with this update. So they've added over 100 skin tones with slider compatibility, which would allow you to even create your own skin tones. And it definitely shows that they've recognized the impact that kind of I've had, and there's also 4 other game changers. They've recognized the impact that they've had in the community and the importance of representation within the simming community. So I'm so happy to see this all come to light, and all of the hard work that has gone into ensuring that our player base are fully represented. So in terms of programs, I mean, like I said, I'm a self-taught 3D artist, but I'm sure like many 3D artists, I started my journey off with Blender, which is a free and open 3D character creation, 3D creator software, sorry. And it's really fantastic. There's loads of tutorials and YouTube forums, and there's so much help available. But I will say that when I first opened it, I closed it straight away. I looked at the open vast space and said, no, not today. Nope, nope, not me. And I probably didn't revisit it for like maybe 8 months. And then I just kind of gave myself a pep talk and said, okay, we've got this, Danny, we've got this. And over time, as my skills developed and I got more complex with my kind of meshes and models, I started using Maya a little bit, depending on the complexity. And then for textures, I started using Procreate and Adobe Photoshop as well. So this is actually my very first hair mesh. Kind of after weeks of researching and asking questions, trial and error, I finally made my own hairstyle. And my hair was this was my actual hairstyle at the time. So I cried because it felt so good that I was able to finally see myself in the game. And I just couldn't believe how much it meant to me to be able to actually create a sim that had my hairstyle, that looked like me. And it was just, I still can't even get the words out because I'm still feeling away about the skin tones. But it's knowing what completing this meant for my future, where it would take me, the impact that it would have on the community going forward. And I put the child sim here as well because it staples the fact that when I was younger playing The Sims, I couldn't make little sim me. There was no resources, there was no options, no tools to make little sim me. So it's really important for me to be able to allow kids to see themselves in the game as well. And thanks to this, I've been very fortunate to have my work and content just featured across so many major gaming platforms. I mean, you know, we're talking BBC News, The Sims and EA, Polygon, Vice, Kotaku, The Guardian, Red Bull. There's so much, and it shows how important it is to keep on having this conversation, and how important representation is in gaming. Allowing people to see themselves in game when they pick up a controller is my very, very kind of primary goal. I want people to be able to see themselves in the game. So other accomplishments for me when it comes to Twitch as well, I was the first UK Black female Twitch partner. Shock, horror, I know this happened in February, but luckily we've got 4 more amazing Black female partners who've joined me up here. But it was really such a massive accomplishment, and I've been really trying to ensure that on the platform, because not just in game but within the gaming space, that also Black women are visible and seen and getting the same opportunities as their white counterparts. And that's also why I co-founded Black Twitch UK. So it is essential for me and my friend to give streamers within the UK who aren't often given opportunities and access to, I guess, kind of the spotlight to do just that. So we've held events like Twitch Hill, where we brought Notting Hill Carnival to the Twitch streets, and also Black History Month 2020, where we had a host of guests and events and poetry, and it was really amazing. So just kind of stapling our place within the UK on Twitch and letting everyone know that we are actually here and we've got a lot of content to do. So with the future of representation, the kind of things that need to change for me would be better creator character options, hiring more Black devs, because, you know, people create stories from their experience, and if there aren't enough, you know, Black or people of color devs or any people within the kind of a marginalized category, if you don't have those people on the team, how can you make quite accurate stories? A directory of 3D artists who actually know how to create more hair like this. So again, all of these hairstyles are hairstyles that I've created, put in the game, and want people to use for free, because I'm also weary of there being a paywall between people accessing content to make them look like themselves. So I ensure that on my website, I have all of my content up for free. People can download it, and there's no issue of them having to pay to be able to look like themselves. So future goals, I definitely want to continue championing in this field. I want to keep the conversation going. It's been so I've been doing this for 5 years, kind of on and off part-time. It's only been 2 years, or no, 1 year and a half that I've been doing this full-time. So I can only imagine what I can do in the next 5 years and the next 5 years after that, especially as the gaming industry is recognizing the importance of representation more and more. So there's definitely room for me to kind of make a massive difference, not just within The Sims, but within the gaming industry as a whole. Thank you everyone for listening. I know I probably went over time and I'm so sorry, but if you want to reach me, hit me up. You can find me on Ebonic Sims everywhere. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my talk.
Woo!
I'm so sorry if I went over.
Honestly, I do not mind you going over time at all. I've been a big fan for a long time, so it's great to hear you chat at the event, and yeah, all the work you've done is just so inspiring, and you're so busy. You do so much. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. No, it's an honor to be here and, you know, talk about this. It's really important to me. So thank you.
Absolutely, and it's a great honor for us to have you on our platform to kind of share this message, because it's so important and just really inspiring, you know, on multiple levels. Just, you know, so thank you so much,
thank you,
Danny, and yeah, keep those questions coming in.
Definitely.
Danny will be with us for the Q&A in a bit as well. So
yeah,
we're going to have a short break now where we're going to showcase some games. These are projects that are mostly made in the kind of Dundee area. There's a few that maybe not quite in Dundee, but
close enough.
Neighbours, yeah, close enough. And neighbours in Edinburgh, we don't mind. We're all friends here in Scotland. So yeah, enjoy some of these videos, and we'll be back soon for our next speaker.
King of the Drills is a turn-based tactical VR game featuring clans of hyper-intelligent moles battling for domination. The moles have peaked in their technological ventures and strive to increase their intelligence even further by acquiring territory and resources. Each clan is ruled by a commander mole, a respected leader who commands their troops from above the battlefield in their command craft.
Battles take place on a grid-based map, with the player and enemy taking turns to command their moles. During the game, the player controls the commander and a squad of 4 moles. Your mission is to eliminate the enemy team of moles who is infiltrating your garden territory.
During the player's turn, you alternate between the tactical view, where you plot your strategy, and your squad moles, where you perform actions such as moving, building cover, and using equipment by spending your action points.
We describe King of the Drills as Worms plus XCOM in VR. You have the eccentric theme and weapons of Worms, blended with the tactical and strategy elements of XCOM. The game is built from the ground up for virtual reality. This means that every element of gameplay is designed around performing immersive actions in VR.
With King of the Drills, our goal is to create a more light-hearted tactics game in a genre that's often serious in tone. However, we want to ensure that no tactical gameplay elements are lost, and that there is still a satisfying experience for strategic players.
The game currently has a variety of classes which the player can pick from, each bringing their own advantages to the table with unique weapons and gear.
The game is currently in the early stages of development, and we aim to continue working on it until a full release. A demo is currently available and can be found on our itch page at 3030 Games.
Hello, I'm Thomas, and I'll be telling you a little bit about my game Sisyphus. It's a narrative platformer where you must roll your own head up a hill, while the head tells you its own internal monologue. It was inspired by two things. First of all, the Greek myth of Sisyphus. This was a tale about a wealthy king punished to roll a boulder up a hill, for only to roll back down and have to start the whole process again. The second thing was the 5 stages of grief made by Kubler-Ross. He proposes that when people are grieving, they'll go through 5 stages. First of all, denial, then anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. And you must roll your own head through these 5 stages to finally accept what you're grieving. I combined both of these concepts together and created a narrative about a grieving lover. Their partner is killed in a drive-by shooting while waiting for them at a restaurant. They partly feel guilty about it. The only thing they have left is a voicemail from their lover. I believe that digital objects can gain a new meaning through loss. For example, I found this calculator in the house of a deceased family member. The last calculation they made is still on there, and this gives me such a strange feeling. It's almost like the high places phenomenon, where you feel like you'll jump even if you don't want to. This calculation could be deleted forever at the push of a button, never to be remade the same way again. Or it could stay forever. It pairs immortality with fragility, and this is what I wanted to explore within this game. So if you're interested, you can check it out on itch.io and play for yourself.
Hi, my name is Tom, and I'd like to show you our game, Solas 1-8. Myself, Jamesy and Stephen have been working on this for almost 2 years now, and we're excited to show it to you. Solas 1-8 is a game of interconnected puzzles where you redirect and reconfigure rhythmic pulses of light to breathe life back into an ancient machine. Something strange and alien has invaded, and it's up to the player to fix the damage which is being done. At its simplest, players are tasked with getting light from a source to a receiver. Do this successfully and the receiver will unlock. This then becomes a door, allowing the player to change screen, but also becomes the source for the next puzzle. The entire world of Solas is connected, and every pulse is moving whether or not you can see it. These pulses move to the beat of an original synthwave soundtrack, but this movement isn't just for show. Many of the puzzles are designed around timing these pulses to collide with each other. When they do, their colours and directions mix to help players solve seemingly impossible rooms. In addition, we've used unique shapes alongside colour to ensure this game is colourblind friendly by default. Perhaps the part I'm most excited about, however, is that due to the nature of the game, we can introduce puzzles that spill over multiple screens, a bit like a classic Zelda dungeon, where players need to understand how the different screens relate to each other. Later on, you could even swap pieces between some screens. We also introduce weird and interesting new mechanics as the game goes on, like these filters, which the player will need to learn how to manipulate as they go. Thank you so much for listening to this quick overview of Solas 1-8. It's due out next year on Steam and Switch, and would really appreciate a wish list at the link on screen.
Hello again.
Hey, welcome back.
Those transitions did it.
Yeah, that's some smooth transitions there.
Thanks.
Who's in charge of all the transitions?
Try my best.
It's amazing. This is so good. Oh, thank you, Susie. So
thank you, Mal.
I'm gonna bring in our next guest. Here we go, Casper.
Hello, Casper.
Hello, Casper.
Sorry, I was muted. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome.
How is everybody else?
Awesome.
Also
right.
Yeah.
Susie.
So Casper, who's about to talk, they're an independent game developer and a lifelong fan. This is my favorite thing, of ghosts, cats, and wearing hats. I think we all are. And after several years of working in AAA, they made the move to indie so they could fulfill their dream of making games about queer ghosts. Again, I think we all want to do that. Take it away.
Sure. Hang on. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Is this working?
Yep, that's it.
Cool.
Go.
Okay, so hi, I'm Casper. I'm a developer, and I make things about ghosts. But I wear many hats, and because they're fun and they're an important part of my self-expression. But I also wear these kinds of hats, and each one is also important for my self-expression. Having a broad toolbox has been really great for me creatively, and it's not really uncommon in our industry. But I've constantly struggled with having the confidence to wear all of these hats. I kind of just feel like I'm fighting against multiple imposter syndromes at once. So I always kind of wanted to be multidisciplined. I grew up drawing and painting, and I was considering a career in animation. But in the end, I decided to forego all art qualifications so I could learn to make games instead. I ended up taking a games course that focused on code and technology, but while I was there, I dabbled in 3D modeling, rigging, pixel art, shaders, all on top of learning programming and on top of furthering my original drawing skills. And sometimes I was really worried that I was spreading myself too thin and neglecting my core studies. But in the end, it didn't really matter that much because I was comfortable wearing many hats and I was producing my best work this way. But when I began working in the industry as a programmer, I really started to doubt myself. Instead of my skills complementing each other, it began to feel like they couldn't coexist. I started to get caught up with concerns about whether I was good enough and felt like I only had my other skills to blame. Had I wasted my time at university on things that had no relevance or value? Was I behind my peers because of this? I'd made the conscious choice to pass on art qualifications. Was I allowed to call myself a real artist? And then offhand comments and attitudes from within the workplace even made me start believing that pursuing my art skills was preventing people from taking me seriously as a programmer. I started to worry that instead of being someone who confidently wore many hats, I was actually just a fraud with a mediocre grasp of random and unrelated skills. I felt discouraged from learning anything new because I didn't want to dilute myself any further, and I didn't want to try and claim a hat I didn't feel worthy of. I lost the confidence to call myself an artist or a programmer, despite having demonstrable skills and years of experience in both disciplines. This infighting really caused a lot of problems with me creatively. I started to feel like separate people drawing hard lines between my creative outlets. I became Casper, who was an artist, and Casper, who was a programmer. And neither of these people interacted with each other anymore. And so instead of focusing on what I wanted to make, I was more concerned with mastery and proving to other people that I wasn't a fraud. And as a result, I started neglecting the skills I'd internalized as less valuable. So this phrase started haunting me. But I learned recently that this is only the first half, and the full phrase is actually jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than master of one. Imposter syndrome can get us so caught up in whether we're good enough that we forget that mastery isn't the point. When you learn a new creative skill, you learn how to express yourself a little bit more, and the options for what you want to create open up. It can give you more tools to use when problem solving, and it can teach you to better communicate and collaborate with other people. But imposter syndrome is persistent and it can be really hard to ignore. So here's a few things I keep in mind. Labels are really difficult. They can add pressure if you're already struggling with imposter syndrome. Try simplifying things. Like, I tend to just use game developer because it encompasses most of my creative output. And If you have a demonstrable skill, find the confidence to use the label, because people will see your work and they will agree with you. And don't use aspiring. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it will do more harm than good. There is no deadline on learning, practicing, or creating, but you have to accept the learning curve. It's always going to exist, so try not to let it discourage you. Everyone learns and improves at different speeds, so don't compare your progress to others, and remember that people you look up to had to start somewhere too. This is a mantra I say to myself when I get stuck in my own head. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be mine. And it tells me to balance my perfectionism and self-criticism, because it inevitably becomes unhelpful, so you have to learn when to stop listening to it. You have to make stuff for yourself and not just to prove yourself to other people. And more often than not, your peers will be more interested in what you're making rather than how good you are at making it, because your creative identity is unique and nobody else can make what you want to make. There's a lot more I could say on this, but I hope this helps anyone who might be having similar internal conflicts. So my final piece of advice is make things that interest you and have fun. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Casper.
Thank
you. Thanks for having me.
I think
that was so good.
I think we all needed to hear that there.
I was just saying in the chat, I need that pep talk, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to give it to myself quite a lot, so I felt it was something I could talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
We'll chat again soon.
Sure.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Right.
I'm going to play that every morning.
Yeah.
After, we'll put it on YouTube and I'll play that every morning.
Put that on. I do this.
Yeah.
You know what? It's so good because I've had the pleasure of working with Casper, and yeah, it's so good. They inspire me all the time. So really wonderful to have him speak. So moving on to our next guest. Let me get them in here first. This is quite impressed with our next guest because let them join first. Hello, Huayang.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hi.
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting.
This is good. So just to let our audience know that our wonderful guest Huayang is actually calling in from Korea, South Korea this morning. So
yeah,
this morning. So thank you so much for doing this live. This is really amazing. And also for me, someone who's got a connection with the Northwest, Liverpool in particular. Two of our guests do. So my hometown, Liverpool. So it's really great. So I will just do a quick intro. So Huayang is a multidisciplinary artist, working in the arts, culture, and sciences, facilitating collaborative projects and workshops. She works with people to co-create projects, often using games and play to explore social issues. So yeah, wonderful to have you, Hua, and we'll let you take over.
You ready? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Am I on?
Yeah.
You are on. Let's do this.
Okay. All right. I just want to say it's like 10 minutes to 5 in the morning. When I agreed to this, I wanted to do it live. At the time, it seemed like a good idea. I'm not so sure. So, excuse any incoherencies or babbling. Okay, so what I wanted to do was introduce you to a game, a Korean game, a folk game, and it's called Gonggi, and it's played with stones. There's 5 of them. They look like this, and it's a children's game. I haven't played it in such a long time, but I'm rediscovering my roots being in Korea quite unintentionally. So I'll just show you how it's done, and then I'll explain why I like this game. So what happens is you start with 5 stones. They're called stones. So no, it's called stones. Anyway, you throw them down. Can you see them? Okay. Now you choose one, and then the object is to pick up the other ones, but by throwing the other one and catching it like this. Okay, so that's stage 1. Second stage is when you grab 2 at a time. There's 5 stages. First stage, 1 at a time. Second stage, 2 at a time. Like so. Missed it. Okay, let's pretend I caught that one. Third stage, 3. And when you pick them, you can't move the other ones because then it would be the other person's go. So I've gotten 1 out of the way. Okay. I'm gonna try that again. Okay. All right. There. Okay. So that's the third stage. Fourth stage is kind of reverse. Okay. Almost. Let me try that one more time. Okay. And then the 5th stage is when you hold all 5 in your hand, and then you flip them onto the back of your hand, like this. Just try to get as many as you can, and then there, you catch them. And so I've caught 3. That means I have 3 years, and then you go on to the next person, and you play until you make a mistake. Or you keep going until you make a mistake, and then you decide in advance how many years you're going to play up to. So the person who gets up to, let's say, 10 years. Well, okay, I got 4. Well, I only caught 3, so that had been 3 years. It would be the winner. So the reason I've been thinking about my childhood and games and the games I played in my childhood is because I haven't lived in Korea for 15 years now, and I'm living with my parents again. This is what the pandemic has done to me, and I've sort of regressed to being a early teenager, which was the last time I kind of lived here. But it's been nice to also think back to comfort and games. I think playing is such a nice escape from harsh realities. So just to prove that it's 4 a.m. and this is live, 5 a.m. Fanfics are great. I love them. Amy, when the second talk about different forms of communication mentioned email as an old form of communication, that made me feel really old. I think it's so important to see yourself in culture, in mass media. I didn't see myself a lot when I was growing up. I still don't. So that's quite. Last year, someone on the street in Liverpool asked if I was from Killing Eve. This happened last year, and I really resonate with what Casper was saying about how to define yourself. And I've gone with being a professional amateur, and my specialism is generalizing. I think that's enough for me. That's 5 minutes.
Amazing. That was so good. I knew
That
this
was
good,
so good.
but you went over my expectations. So that was excellent. And what was lovely to see is some of our guest chat was talking about some similar experiences from other countries, about some of the folk games, which is really wonderful. Right, Hawaiians, you need to stay there because while you're still up and not asleep, we're going to get our first few guests to join this call just to do some 10 minutes of Q&A. So let me do that now.
I mean, you don't have to stay in that exact position if it's uncomfortable.
No, I'm gonna get back in bed. I'm gonna get back in bed. I'm gonna get back in bed.
Oh, is there an echo going on for anyone?
I think I've been me.
Okay, that's fine. I heard me say the same thing like 4 times over, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Okay, I accidentally put James in. Briefly on the call, and he was like, "What am I doing here?" And I'm like, okay, that was my mistake. So my mistake, James. So, yes. So this is everyone. Amazing.
Well, we just lost.
Jung-in, how has the conversation been on YouTube? Has there been some interesting questions?
Yes, there were so many comments, so many nice comments. Everybody really loved the talks, but I will straight move on to questions because maybe so that we can ask all these questions. So Amy, so there was a question. Well, actually, there was somebody who wanted to recommend a stand-up fanfic of 2020, and also. The person wanted to ask you more about being a space doctor.
Okay. So stand-up fanfic recommendation. I'm biased, but I read one. So I've been watching a lot of She-Ra, the animated show, because it's gay and I'm weak. But there was a great fanfic where Adora, one of the main characters, was an astrophysicist with a crippling anxiety problem stuck in Antarctica, and it resonated far too much with this. But it was, I mean, I guess it goes to the representation thing where I just saw myself in the way she was written in that fiction so much, and it was, and questions about being a space doctor. I don't know what questions are there.
I think there's a million questions. I'm sure people could keep asking you. I guess maybe just quickly say what it is you're studying.
So I'm in the 4th year of my PhD, I believe. I don't know. Time has lost meaning. But I'm using computer simulations to study how clouds move in the atmosphere of brown dwarfs. So brown dwarfs are weird objects that are kind of like halfway between planets and stars. Essentially, they're born like stars, but they're not heavy enough to fuse hydrogen, so they don't really glow like stars do. But they have really, really weird clouds made of metallic dust, and so we're trying to simulate how those clouds would move in their atmosphere and evolve over time.
Daniel's face, just like same, like mind blown.
I love clouds. Literally.
Do we have any more questions?
Yes, we do. We have more questions to Danielle. So, do you reckon publishers use stuff like Steam Workshop and custom community-made content as an excuse not to put in the necessary effort they should be putting in?
I don't know if it's an excuse. I do feel like well, first of all, 3D modeling is extremely expensive. So there's also that. And to the detail that I see games like Miles Morales, I know how much, well, personally, I know how much time and effort goes into making kind of like one model. So it can get very expensive. But I mean, AAA publishers have no excuse really at this point. They have the money to do it. So I don't know what their excuse is, because that kind of modding for their games isn't really, it's not that open. The Sims is probably the most moddable in my own experience. But for indie games, I recognize that on things like Turbo Squid, CG Trader, I don't know if you've ever gone on there and searched like black hair, or just even like a black female model, black male model. I went on there on stream one day and I was clicking and clicking and clicking, and I got to the 8th page, and the first black model that I saw was actually like a caricature, and it was quite a racist caricature as well. And so I'm already thinking at an indie game level, they don't even have the resources, because they can't hire 3D artists if they don't have any in-house, because of how expensive it is. So already at an indie game level, they're at a disadvantage when it comes to making representative characters, if they don't already have that skill set or know how to make those kind of characters. So yeah, AAA publishers, they don't have that much of an excuse. I see them getting a little bit better with things, but I think from an indie game level, there is kind of a lack of accessibility when it comes to platforms like CG Trader, Turbo Squid, where they download their 3D models to put in their games. So that's kind of where things are kind of getting missed out.
Right. There are more questions to you as well. So,
Okay.
What kind of opportunities has 3D modeling brought with becoming a content creator, especially with Sims?
I think the main opportunity really has been, well, the biggest and probably most successful one to me is being able to help advise the Sims team, but with the skin tones, because they also got us to look into and advise and consult on the hairstyles that they're updating to make sure that they're getting it right. But in terms of like personal, like me making models for people, I actually haven't had any, and I think for me that's okay, because I quite like not working for anyone. I think the idea of kind of working for one place cuts me off from being able to develop my skills so that I can then provide for a vast amount of people who actually require support for ensuring that their games are more inclusive and representative when it comes to people of color. So personally, it's just, I guess it's generated the conversation, and I think that's the most successful thing, being 3D artist or modeler. But in terms of actual games and stuff, I think I've shied away from it because I don't want to work for one person. I like being able to do my own thing and still let people know that they ain't doing their job.
Can I just say I watched a bit of your stream from yesterday, just after the release of the skin tones, and it was like I was welling up watching you. It was amazing.
Not the sob.
No, it was, and all the comments of people coming in, like, you know, what you've done is, you know, started these massive changes, and yeah, I just want to say well done. And
thank you.
Everyone should go watch I think, did you post a video on your a little clip on your YouTube as well?
I put a little clip. I posted pretty much the whole stream on YouTube, but I put a little clip on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
Great. These are going to be the final question to Danielle.
Okay.
Since you said you're self-taught, people are asking about resources. What kind of resources you use to teach yourself for 3D modeling? And also, there was also another interesting question that whether there's any resources you would recommend for developers to check out to help ensure their game customization options cater to as many people as possible.
Okay, so resources, the interesting thing with kind of my knowledge is that it's a bit like a quilt. So I've picked so many different tutorials from across the internet that have absolutely nothing to do with making hair or anything, and then pieced it together to make it work for making hair. So it's so complicated to kind of pinpoint. Yet there's this one tutorial on how to make braids, there's this one tutorial on how to make curls, there's this one tutorial on how to make locks. Like, I have literally had to, because there isn't one hub, I've had to literally piece together all of the information to make it one big quilt of knowledge. And I get the question often of, you know, are you going to put out some tutorials? I still feel a bit like I still feel a bit like a baby in the industry when it comes to this. I mean, Casper made a really good point of imposter syndrome, and I feel like I suffer with that quite often. And when it comes to my own confidence in my skills, because again, I feel like, well, because I'm self-taught, am I in a position to be teaching people how to do these things, especially if my knowledge comes from everywhere? But I would like to start putting out tutorials once I know that my process is going to be from A to B, and if someone follows this tutorial, they're going to get the outcome that is in the tutorial. But at the minute, I am still doing trial and error because, again, I haven't been to school for it and I'm still learning as I go along. But in terms of devs, again, I don't know if there's anything that I can recommend at this point in time for tutorials for actual studios. It is a matter of just getting different tutorials and putting them together to make something work. And it's, I guess, learning how to generalize the skill that you've watched and then making it work for whatever it is, the project that you're working on.
That's great. And as you mentioned, like if it's AAA companies, maybe they can also hire more diverse people, you know, and that will make difference, I guess.
Yeah. No, definitely. I've seen it with Miles Morales and even Cyberpunk. I know that they've outsourced people to kind of make these more diverse hairs, which is amazing. So I think definitely if they don't have it in-house, then ensuring that they outsource and know that the company that they're outsourcing from actually have the people with the right skill set and knowledge on how people of color's hair work as well.
It's such an important broad point in terms of the content we're consuming. But I think I'd like to bring Adam into this now in terms of a question for you, Adam, in terms of specifically your involvement in people of color and playgroup has been amazing for me as a person of color living in Scotland, which is not the most diverse of places, is seeing your initiative on Twitter, you know, primarily that's how I engage it. Firstly, what was amazing was for Black History Month, just seeing how many amazing, you know, Black people are involved in the games development community, you know, because it's so easy just not to see these people. And then beyond that, you had a kind of a further campaign for a broad range, in anyone who's, you know, a person of color in the broadest sense possible, which is very inclusive. I do wonder if you have some thoughts about where we are as an industry in terms of, you know, the challenges we're facing and where we could be going moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I ask, like, how long do we have to discuss it? But I think as an industry, we're doing better. We're starting to do better. Like, let's have a bit of positivity. But, you know, as always, there's a long way to go. I think what we need to remember is that the industry that we work in is not too different from the wider society. So all of the same issues in other industries, but just, you know, generally speaking, what marginalized people, you know, whether we're talking about race, class, gender, sexuality, you know, we have very similar issues in the video games industry, even if it does seem to be quite forward thinking. What I've noticed over the last few years is that the conversations are definitely better. I think more people, more companies, even more consumers are starting to think, okay, maybe there's something in it, you know, when it comes to diversity and how that can actually improve the experiences of our content, as well as, you know, the expertise that makes that content as well. So we're definitely making progress. I think having multiple campaigns to surface visibility is great. I also think social media has been one of our biggest assets, even if we do get a bit of hate on on Twitter and the like, but still actually seeing the communities coming together and having this shared goal, you know, just to make a better industry is, you know, is wonderful, really. And, you know, I would challenge AAA studios in particular. They've got the resources. They may traditionally have had, people who could gatekeep the industry. They need to be responsible for breaking down those barriers as well and contributing to the solution. And, there's so many of us out there who are actually willing to give free support and advice. Not saying that activists should be exploited in this way, but, it's all out there. So, yeah, let's work together.
Thank you, Adam. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, so you did just mention free advice and stuff like that, and I don't know. I wanted to ask: is it something both you and Danielle, I guess, is it something you've been asked for, like when you're asked to give your opinion or asked to consult on something? Are you ever offered paid? Because I know that trans people, for example, anytime we're asked for like, oh, could you please write like just a little story about your experience or anything, people always kind of expect that for free. Is that something you've experienced as well?
Yeah. So just from my perspective, yes, I do get a lot of requests for free support for all sorts of things. Like, we need more representation at conferences. Can you talk to my company? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I think in the grand scheme of things, I have to take a bit of a call. Like, it's not just me. Like, there are actually 10 volunteers in Pock and Play. You do have to think, okay, well, will this further the community? Will this, bring extra promotion to the organization, which is completely like for the community, like not for profit or anything. But then, we do think to ourselves, we are working people, in our day jobs, we have our own problems. If we can be compensated, if, we can get sponsorship, that's always very useful. So it's a balancing act, really. I think where we can get companies to contribute something which will go back into the community, great. But you know what, we're passionate about what we do. So there is always an opportunity for free advice, and I'm not going to turn down anyone.
No, yeah, I get that.
I'd say the same as Adam. Like, it's definitely, you have to kind of weigh up the options. And I mean, 100%, you need to get paid for your time, especially in like my own personal situation. I'm a full-time content creator. So is my consulting you taken away from, is it going to put me in the red, that kind of thing? And is it going to better you going forward? Then I need to also be compensated for my time. So it's definitely like, if this is going to better the community, sure. If I can get compensated for it as well, great. But you also have to weigh up the options. Is this going to take me away from my own content creation, which generates my income, or is it, so it's definitely, you have to kind of weigh up the situation. But I do 100% feel and believe that we should get paid for our time. 100%. Any content creator should get paid for their time if they're taking the time out of their day to do, support or consult or advise, and especially major brand as well. Like, there's definitely money in the budget. I'm not here for, you don't have money in the budget, especially with them hundreds of thousands. I'm sorry, your exposure is not currency.
Yeah.
One comment on that as well. I talked about resources and gatekeepers. It shouldn't have to be the marginalized people who are asking for money and support. If you have the resources, share them, offer something, and it makes it a lot easier.
Just gonna this is great chats we're having, but just gonna ask Junging if there's any questions for Hawaii Young and Casper, but we're gonna have to be sort of quick because it's annoying. The chats are so good, but we don't want to run completely over.
Yeah, no, there were good comments. Everybody was really enjoying their talks, but I haven't spotted any questions to that on YouTube.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were just really hard agreeing with everything Casper was saying, because I think everyone's sort of felt that way.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and everyone is absolutely loving Wai Young's games and positions and your honesty, and it was amazing. Anyone else? Is that?
Yeah, Casper or Hawaii, anything else you'd like to add to the conversation?
No, I'm good. If people want to ask me stuff, they can find me on Twitter. So
Casper, Claire Brennan just asked if you could be her life coach.
I can try.
Like, you can contact her.
Cool.
I'll set that up.
Yeah.
I'm getting commission. They're doing that.
Me too.
You can do a whole session.
I'll try.
Amazing. Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you all for our first set of speakers. We've got another 5 to go. So amazing. Love you all. Thank you so much. We are now going to have a cool little interview with Bitloom, and then we'll do our second half. So goodbye for the moment for our first set of speakers. Thank you so much. You've all been incredibly wonderful.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you for all the talks were amazing.
Oh, thank you. Right. I'm going to do the transition now. 1 second.
There's too many people to add and unadd. Everyone just fades away one by one.
Feel awful. How the power over people. Okay, cool. Right. So now we're gonna have the Bitloom guys in, and Jungin will return to the YouTube for more questions and stuff. So in fact, Jane, we'll probably have you come in the last few minutes with a chat with Bitloom, just in case there's any extra questions. Okay.
Okay.
Right. See you shortly.
Bye.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Right. So let's get those guys in now.
Everyone in the chat saying that they waved there.
Oh.
Like when we were waving, everyone's sitting at home waving at a screen.
Okay. Here comes trouble. Speaking about dogs. Hello, Doug, James, and Henry. We're also known as Bitloom Games. Wonderful for you all to join us. Thank you so much for your time. We just thought we'd have a short chat with you guys, because I think, firstly, big massive congratulations on the release of your game Fogs, which is out there in the world.
Flash, woo.
And it's been amazing for us in Biome Collective, also in the broader Dundee community, to kind of see you guys, through this amazing creative endeavor. Firstly, tell us a bit about yourselves. Who is Bitloom, and who worked on who made Fogs?
Also, tell us your favorite hot drink in that, because that's a Mal put in the sheet. He wants to know that.
Okay. My favorite hot drink. I'll start with introducing myself. I'm James. I'm programmer and one of the designers at Bitloom, and we made Fogs. We also collaborated with CodeSync, who co-developed the game and published it. They did an amazing job. And Caitlin Smith, who did all of the UI and 2D art in the game, which looks fantastic. I like those introduce themselves. But my favorite hot drink is if you get
it couldn't be simple.
Marmite,
it could not be simple.
Marmite and water, and you just mix them together. Great.
Oh wow.
I did not expect that.
Following that, I'm Henry. I'm another programmer, composer, and also designer at Bitloom. And I'm a big coffee drinker. That's my hot drink of choice.
And crochet. Don't forget crochet.
Yeah.
That's not a drink, Doug.
Yeah. He's Bitloom's lead crocheter. I am Doug, the artist and animator, and I guess co-designer at Bitloom. Probably just hot chocolate. Nice cocoa.
Nice.
Classic.
Good quality.
Yeah.
I like that. Awesome. What a good start. So what I'd love to hear about is a bit about you guys in terms of like you guys as a team and your process, because I think maybe just from my perspective, you guys reached out to us at Biome Collective when you were studying university. And we were like, yeah, we don't, we're not really, we don't need to take on students. Get out of here, you guys. Shoo. But then you're quite insistent. And, you guys are, and I'll lead on to the second question about the community. You guys are so involved in the Dundee community, not just the games community, I'd say that the general creative community, that it was nice to see how proactive you were. And you guys joined Biome Collective, you set up your own studio. I'd love to hear about your process. How did that come about, you guys as a team more than anything?
That PowerPoint. I did that PowerPoint and said, let's make games. And it worked. I tricked you.
Yeah, well, it was
two out of 5 of us that were there.
Yeah, there was, I guess the history goes back quite far because Henry and I were at high school together and learned to program together. And then went to Arcadia University where we met Doug and started making games in little game jam type situations. And then Henry and Doug made a game and they managed to release it on Steam. And they were kind of like, well, we've managed to release something on Steam. What if we did something a bit bigger? And we eventually came up with Fox, and that was kind of coming out of university. We knew that we wanted to make a company around it, but stay small and keep it focused on being creative. And that's when we reached out to you at Biome, and we just thought it was a great way for us to kind of stay a part of the community and not just go off into our own office and spend a year making a game. We wanted it to be something that we really collaborated on and had inspiration all around us, which is what we always found every day going into Biome.
We definitely wouldn't have been able to do it without the excitement of lunches and ambitions. The 3 of us sat in a little office would have been miserable.
I would, you guys, cannot describe how amazing the lunches were.
I miss them every day.
Clearly,
the worst part of 2020.
Not having Biome lunches.
Absolutely, and it's important to note that Biome Collective as a co-working space was in the Vision Building in Dundee, and what was really important was it wasn't just Biome Collective, a bunch of game developers and artists. We actually had lots of amazing friends in the same co-working space, from Neon Digital Arts Festival, Creative Dundee, and a whole other bunch of freelancers out with the games industry, which I felt really has helped us as game makers be better game makers, because it's kind of inspired us outside the games bubble. So and I know all those guys miss a lunch adventure.
Comments, everyone's like,
I'm reading
the lunch.
All my dates are a recommendation, guys. Take it easy.
I mean, for me going into Vision, I was like pretty unaware of the Dundee like games industry, coming from like a fine art background. So without those lunches, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
So just related on that kind of note of community, what do you guys do outside of kind of games development? Because you've been very, very busy the past 3 years working on your first title. A lot of hard work went into this. But I've always felt you've done a great job of kind of balancing your life so that it wasn't all about work. You did a lot more outside of work and very creative things. So do you want to share about what you guys have been doing outside of kind of making Fox?
Who's going first?
I feel like James is the one who should be talking here.
Well, I think a lot of it did come from seeing the creative community in Dundee and how buzzing it always is. There's so much going on for such a small city, and I started the zine jam with Sarah Burt, and we had that running quite regularly at Brewdog, and people would come along and make small zines together. That went until I moved down to Bristol, and I continued it there as Bristol Zine Jam. But also just kind of helping out in ways that felt like I could give back. And we've done that as the 3 of us, trying to kind of go and speak about our experience, and also helping at workshops and running the code club at the library in Dundee, which I used to do, and then continued at the library in Bristol, and just kind of going beyond the game space. But yeah, it's also always been really inspiring to just see people from outside of games take an interest in games and kind of come to Biome and see that you can collaborate in ways that aren't just making a commercial title, and you can do things like some of the workshops that we've all helped out with, where we go into communities outside of games and we use games as a way to be creative and to come up with ideas together. I think that's really exciting.
I think we're just always up for doing something fun and creative. I think that's about it, really.
I haven't got much on.
Hot facts from Doug. No, absolutely. You've always been up for doing stuff, which has been wonderful. Because it's not always easy to get involved in things, I think. It's not always, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you want to be left alone. So it's nice to see that you guys were always up for being involved in things, community activities across, both in Dundee and yourself, James, or in Bristol. So that has been wonderful. Also, like even outside of the UK, I remember kind of bumping into James at a Maze Festival volunteering. So there's always opportunities out there to kind of, to share what you're able to bring to the world. And you guys have always done that, which has been really wonderful. So I'm going to just let Jung in just in case there'd be any questions from the YouTubes.
I think everyone was just asking about lunch and... Oh no, we've got lunch and hot drinks.
Okay, let me let Jung in now. Hello, Youngin. How are you doing? Some good questions?
Yeah, there's non-lunch question, but definitely lunch. So, how long did it take to get a publisher on board?
It was about, we started working on the game for about 6 months full time before we ended up getting a publisher on board. And that was sort of mostly to do, like we met them through being able to go to an event, which was through Dare that we did with Abertay way back when. So it was
Academy.
Just Dare Academy.
Rebrand.
Right.
Yeah, sorry. So it was just about getting it out there, I think, was the big thing for us. Like during that first 6 months, we were focused on making a demo to show to people and maybe try and get a publisher on board.
Great. There's another question. Was it hard to sew the dogs together?
Yes.
I guess for Henry specifically.
I've got my little...
They just all come out.
Should bring my one too.
Oh no! I need to
can't
switch off.
see it.
I need to switch off my background.
I think I did see Willow in the chat earlier.
Here we go. I sewed it.
Look at
No,
that.
this was made by a friend of ours. For Indicate, they gave it to us, and it's a big fog scarf.
Amazing.
So I guess you could redirect your question to Willa, who sewed this.
I think maybe time for one more question and then wrap things up.
Okay, there are more questions coming in now, but have you guys got any reviews so far?
Yeah, we've had pretty good reviews.
Loads of reviews.
Can I just jump in there? Baby Rohan has played the game.
Whoa, no way!
This is the review we all care about.
Rohan loves the game.
Yeah!
Yes, this is it.
Woo!
Because he's had this little fog he's been playing with, and he's seen it on the screen. He's like this.
Whoa, no way! That's
so amazing.
That's incredible.
Come to life.
Yeah, Rohan said 10 out of 10, we'll play again.
Does he hold the joystick with one hand?
That's all that matters. You don't need any other reviews now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we had a great one where someone said the game was really good when they played it with their dad specifically.
I read that one. I loved that.
Yeah, because it was like saying how he wasn't a traditional, like hadn't played a lot of games, so he just came at it from like a totally different angle and was just like throwing himself into like the silliness and like not thinking how do I actually solve this problem, and just being like, oh, I'm just going to mess around and play, which I think is definitely the spirit we wanted to put in the game. So yeah, the responses from people who have like kind of just embraced the like ridiculousness of the game and kind of like seen the just like, I don't know, the more wholesomeness that we've tried to capture is very heartwarming to see.
I just remember on the night before launch, there was the embargo lifted on the press by the sort of PR people at CodeSync, and then they just started posting all the reviews that were coming out in chat. And it was just like, it was overwhelming. It was just like, bam, article, bam, article, bam, article. Like we didn't know what to do with all this information that was just dropped into our laps. It was pretty incredible.
Very cool.
And then you had to play D&D straight after that. It was too much to handle.
Amazing. Right. So I'll just say to our audience, do keep the questions coming in. Also, don't forget that we will be going to the Biome Gallery afterwards. I'm sure some of the Bitloom guys will be there, so there'll be more opportunity for conversation and questions. But for the moment, because we are running over schedule, unfortunately, so we'll have to kind of say goodbye to our Bitloom friends.
Goodbye, Bitloom.
Well done, guys. See you soon.
And you can get Fogs now, right? It's on many platforms. Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah. Go play it.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Right. So let's move on to our next half of guest speakers. So I have amazing speakers to come. So let's start this off. So Jungin, if you'd like to check on the questions for the next section, that'd be great. Thank you.
Back to the studio audience.
Yes. Okay, so let's bring on Anissa.
Well, we don't need to bring her.
Oh, in fact,
here.
we don't need to bring Anissa in. I mean, it's too late. I've already brought Anissa in. So I jumped the gun a little there. We're gonna play Anissa's presentation, but firstly, I'm gonna just do a very quick introduction. So Anissa is a video games UI and UX designer and founder of the amazing initiative Limit Break, a mentorship program for developers of unrepresented genders in the UK games industry. Throughout the years, Anissa has cultivated a devotion to the ethical UX design and is an advocate for diversity and inclusivity in the industry, with many, many well-deserved awards. Right, so thank you. We're going to play your video now, and you'll be joining us for the Q&A in a little bit later. Thank you.
But it's good to have you here anyway. So.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. It's been great just watching everyone else's talk. Hopefully mine is good, yeah? I mean, I pre-recorded it, so it's on time. It's 5 minutes exactly.
On time.
Okay, here we go.
So I was scrolling through Twitter, as you do when you're procrastinating work. I see all of you. I saw this particularly interesting post, and I just want to talk about it for a little bit. If a piece of user interface feels sci-fi, then what exactly about it that makes you think it's sci-fi? This little thing in this tweet actually has a name. It's called Greebly or Nerny, which it sounds stupid, but whatever. It's a detailing added to the surface of an object to make it appear more complex, therefore visually interesting. These are the visual affordances that tell you this feels sci-fi. Well, to me, it feels like ambient UI. Hi, I'm Anissa Sanisi. I'm a UI UX designer, and I'm going to talk about this shit for the next 4 minutes, so buckle up, keep your hands and arms and legs inside of vehicles, and remain seated at all times, because here we fucking go. Now, this ambient UI, is it a real term? No, I made it up. But it does describe this little phenomena of when tiny little details of a larger user interface system is essentially what makes or breaks the vibe of a video game. And it's these tiny details that players always tend to ignore. Alright, let's pull back for a little bit. Take this paragraph as an example. It doesn't matter in what order the letters... Ugh, sorry. Can't read my script because I'm old. Alright, let's pull back for a bit and take this paragraph as an example. It doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are, the only important thing is the first and last letter be at the right place. The rest can be a total mess and you can still read it without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. Similar to when playing a game, and when you're going through the UI, you're not necessarily taking into account the tiny little details, you're actually just absorbing the entire visual experience as a whole. This is what makes FUI, short for Fantasy UI, so effective at storytelling. If you look at the FUI in this anime called Get in the Fucking Robot, Shinji, you're not actually paying attention to the small text or what it's actually saying. You're looking at what's changing, like a timer showing time is running out, or abrupt changes that shows something is going to happen or has gone terribly wrong. This is the purpose of FUI in anime and movies. It's adding to the ambience to signify tension and urgency. In video games, the art direction can usually be summarized by a few core pillars. Take for example Persona 5. You know, if I'm going to talk about UI, I will mention Persona 5. You can easily tell their pillars are sexy, stylish, and rebellious. Not only is this conveyed in its striking color palettes, but also in its movements and smooth screen transitions. Did it need to go this hard? Did it? Well, if you're fucking Persona 5 and you want people to cosplay your goddamn UI, yes you do! But adding to a game's ambience doesn't necessarily mean going all out. You can go the more subtle approach, like in Animal Crossing. It's clean, flat UI, juxtaposed against a 3D world, showcasing the beauty of simplicity, of a simple life on a simple island. Even something as small as an idle animation and speech bubble adds to the friendly demeanor of the game. My friend Max from Twitter demonstrates ambient UI quite well in his indie game actually, where the gradual update on the speech bubbles, like vibrations and color variants, adds character and emotion to the scene, whilst, yep, you guessed it, adding to an ambience of the game. There's a lot of other ways you can use ambient UI to your game's advantage, like using shapes, typography, motion lines, 3D space even. The options are boundless. Alright, the next time you boot up your favorite video game, why don't you linger a little bit longer in the menus? Soak up the tiny little details that someone has spent probably days animating and polishing. Go tell your favorite UI artist just what a good job they're doing. After all, people usually notice UI only when it's bad. Guess that's why we designed them to be unnoticed. So tell me what you think about the UIs of the games that you play, and why don't you just give me a like and click that subscribe button, and don't forget the little bell for your notifications. I'm joking, I don't have a YouTube channel, but you can give me money if you want. No, really, I want money. That's it. Just money's great.
Oh man, I think I just accidentally cut out a really good bit at the end of Anissa's video of her like fixing her hair and being like, oh, I look good. But I cut it out by accident. I'm sorry.
These will go up again, so
yeah, you'll get to see it.
What a great presentation. Yeah, what I love about the games industry is you have amazing people who are so talented about, you know, being a particular discipline, you know, be it art, production, programming, but then people have the capacity to go beyond that and do community initiatives and, you know, share. It's just amazing stuff. So, right, moving on to our next guest. Would you like to do the intro, Susie?
Yes, sure. So next up, we have Des. And Des is the founder of an independent studio, Altered Gene, and he runs a production for indie publisher Fellow Traveler. He has worked with several prominent companies and brands with his breakout project, that was the original Life is Strange series that won a BAFTA and loads of other awards.
Yes, so amazing stuff. So let me get Des in on this call. Hello, Des.
Hello, Des.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah, this has been it's a good evening. But yeah, I'm under pressure at the minute because I've got a work call after this.
I know.
So Des never stops working. Like
I know, it's 20 to 9
on all the time, doing. He's like games, comics, all sorts of cool stuff. Also, he has like the best profile picture ever in the world. Like I'm so jealous of that picture. It's just Right.
We need to stop talking though. He's on a deadline.
Right. Let's help Des. let's take over, Des. Do your thing, man.
Yeah, take away.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Des Gale, and I'm originally from the UK, but now I live here in the middle of nowhere in Germany because my wife wears the trousers. So today I wanted to just talk to you about transmedia and why I love it and how it's inspired me to work on too many projects. So the reason why I love transmedia is because it caters to my many different moods. So sometimes I want to play interactive content like games, but I don't know about the rest of you, but because I work in games, sometimes at the end of the day, the last thing I want to do is actually play another game. And other times like today, if today ever ends, I just like sit on the sofa and consuming content through TV and film. And then other times I don't like screens at all. Like I just want to go outside, sit in the garden and get stuck into a comic book. I was trying to think about why I like my content in different formats like that. And I think it's because they deliver different experiences. I mean, video games, I think we've got unique tools that can provide the next level of immersion for us to enjoy. And then I think I like film and TV because they're scripted experiences. Like, the director has a specific intent. Like they want to show you this content from a specific angle. And I love the creativity that comes from that. And then for comic books, like it's all about the art. Like I'm a big fan of, saying things, without saying them. Like comic books, a picture paints 1,000 words, and I love how in 28 to 32 pages, you can get a really great story. Like sometimes two, so that's cool. And then as I do more work, for my own studio, it just made me think about another angle to these transmedia, and that was kind of down to not just moods, but like preferences and budget. So, video game technology is getting crazy these days, and even though a lot of us are doing really cool things with not a lot of money, at the other end, like 15 to sometimes 70, 80 pounds is quite prohibitive to some. So as mentioned, I used to work on Life is Strange. That was episodic, and that was a way of mitigating like that upfront cost. I've got bad memories from doing episodic games. It's just really hard, and like Square had loads of money and it was still difficult. I wouldn't advocate doing that. So for me, like I've kind of thought, well, if I've got this like story verse that I want to tell over a series of different projects, not just games, I need to offer that in different formats. So by doing it through different formats, that can allow me to play with like budgets on the developer side, because obviously getting funding for stuff is more difficult than it should be. And also the other side. So if someone does want to play, 30, 40 pounds for a game that I've made, they can pay £5 or £6 for a comic. Yeah. And I guess for me, like my ego is not that big, but I do want as many people as possible to experience the stories that I make. And yeah, I believe that means I have to deliver them in different formats. So with the kind of like section 42 storyverse that I've made with a couple of collaborators, it just got to a point where I was writing the story for one game and it just got too big. I had the opposite of writer's block one weekend, and just words came spilling out of me. And then I, spoke to a friend who's an actually proper writer, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you split these up into different things?" So yeah, he was very good and helped me. And he's like, "Okay, this one could be a comic book, that would be a good fit, or have you thought about an animated movie?" And I was like, "I know nothing about making films, but yes, this would be a good thing to do, so no problem." So that's one thing, and that's for like, I don't know, 10 years down the line by the time it takes me to amass that knowledge that I have that matches having video games. So yeah, then I guess to bring it back to the funding, so I decided what project to work, and I was thinking, well, comic books are cheap, right? Apparently. And I thought, okay, why don't I try and kickstart it? Yeah, Kickstarter failed. But I did learn a lot, so rough but to smooth. We'll come back again next time and have another go. Yeah, so the comic was one little budget, and then luckily we managed to get some money from UK Games Fund to do another project, which is small, bigger than a comic book, but smaller than another game. And then whilst we were kind of like shoehorning a story to fit the type of game, to fit the budget, it dawned on me that it's got a very bad habit of video games, and I tend to like genre hop. And if you're kind of like trying to build a sustainable studio, like genre hop is not a very clever thing to do, because you kind of want to use the tools that you've made from the previous game to help you make the next game cheaper. Who's getting away with that? I guess Biffle Games are getting away with that at the moment. So if that's anything, they're an inspiration for me. Let's see if I can follow in their footsteps. So I guess we'll just wrap this up because I do have to go. I was just going to tell you guys about my goal. So ideally, through the whole storyverse that we have, if we have different jumping on points for people, we could have people who like comic books but don't necessarily like video games. But if they like the comic book enough, they could be enticed slightly to try one of them. And then that goes the other way around as well. So we've got video games people like, oh, well, maybe you should try comic books. They're cool. But the ultimate goal is like, if someone experiences one piece of content and they just go, oh yeah, that was pretty awesome, I enjoyed that, puts it down and moves on, that's all fine. But if by some miracle we can make a legion of people who experience all of the content, they can be like, oh shit, like that's the guy from that book, or that's the dude from the film. I would love that. And it's going to be a bit of a long journey, but we've got bits in places that's going to put us on a course or a chance of having success. So I'm actually quite excited. But yeah, that's about it. And I think thanks for having me, Arcadia and Scotland. I actually miss Scotland. I've been there quite a few times. I quite like it. Yeah, if any of that rambling sounds a little bit interesting to you, please do follow me on Twitter, kid_Desimo. And even better, you can sign up to the newsletter because we send stuff out regular-ishly. Yeah. So cool. See you next time.
That is awesome. Thank you, Des.
Thank you so much.
That was some great stuff. Really inspiring to see someone with your experience in the game industry, and kind of especially from a production point of view, look at the kind of the diversity of content and what else we could explore, because we're just telling stories, and we work with so many creative people. Des, if we don't mind, we're gonna get a question from the YouTube, because I know you can't stay the next bit, so we're gonna maybe get a question. Do you have a question, Susan?
Do you have time for a question, or do you want to dash off?
I've got 4.5 minutes.
Do you want one, or you can just say no and dash off?
Hit me.
Okay.
Hit me.
We've got three. Okay, so we've got one saying it's about Life is Strange specifically. Working on Life is Strange, did you find some of the discussed themes in the episodes controversial? Was it difficult to figure out how to deal with some of the issues raised?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I was a producer on the publishing side, so we were the I say gatekeepers / auditors before it got to release. And yeah, but so I wasn't involved in signing the game because this is before I started. But obviously that was one of the appealing things. Like, you know, Square wanted a game that would push, you know, the boundaries and ask questions. Yeah, and sometimes during the design process of the content, you're just like, ooh, okay, what should we do about this? And I mean, it's a big testament to how much of a team collaboration it was. So, you know, you had us on production, you had brand, having input and marketing, because, you know, all those have to come together to think, and I'll put this in a polite way as possible, like how do we PR our way out of this, right? Like, you know, from a content perspective, we don't really want to be censors, but we do need to be sensitive about, like, you know, how it's reacted to the market. And then obviously there was concerns about like how are the people creating the content the right people to be talking about the issues? So yeah, and I think we navigated that quite well. And I think we were very sensitive when it came to like what did we do? We took this is how old I am. So I remember there was a show called Brookside on when I was a kid, and something like horrible happened, but they always do have those disclaimers. So like, oh, if you saw anything that you were uncomfortable with or sensitive to in this episode, these are all the services you could reach out to. And yeah, we're inspired by that and include that in the game and stuff, and with our social media messaging. I think we handled it well. Yeah, but I'm definitely proud of the game. Like, Don't Nod are insanely talented, and some of us at Square are all right. Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, amazing project. Yeah, congrats on that project, to be honest with you. And yeah, really excited to see what you come up with next, because you're always doing some cool stuff. And I think for me personally, you know, as someone who has been a gatekeeper, you're someone who's incredibly, you know, friendly, accessible. You always kind of help me out when I've kind of given you a call for support on the publishing side of things. So that's really helped me from a development point of view. I understand that, you know, we're all people here trying to just make cool stuff. So
exactly.
Thank you so much, Des.
Cool. All right.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Hope.
And take that call and don't work too much, man. Take it easy.
Yeah. Go read a comic after the call. Bye-bye.
Okay, awesome. Really glad we got to ask Des that question. Right, moving on. We've got, I think by my count, 3 more exciting speakers. So 5 minutes each. So our next speaker is one of our own in Dundee. Jennifer is a community manager at Ninja Kiwi, the company best known for balloons, the series games. Jen graduated with honors in computer arts and occasionally dabbles in the odd bit of live streaming. So let's start Jennifer's presentation.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Petrie and I'm a community manager at Ninja Kiwi. I previously worked in a startup company called Earthbound Games. I was really fortunate to fall into the industry because prior to being in it, I was I was studying to be a technical artist at Abertay, and I streamed at the same time. And I was approached by someone who was looking to do an esports type of game, and that kind of led me to fall into CM. And I was offered a job that at the time I didn't think it was going to be. I didn't think it was my dream job, and then I got into the role and I realized how much I love it, and you know, the rest is history, and we're here. But I was going to talk today for 5 minutes solid with my cats because they're really cute, but I'm going to instead be briefly debunking some of the myths of community management, and then I'm going to share some tips and things that I think are important for future community managers to, you know, continue loving what they do. So at first I'm going to draw your attention to this lovely meme I've made, which is my light-hearted representation of what is a CM and in kind of relation to my social circle and what people think. There's obviously the running joke that CMs play games all day and we make memes, and that's kind of all we do, but that's not true. And then obviously got the players' views of us, of a lot of CMs, which is understandable because, you know, you're the first point of contact from the company with the player, so, you know, you're met with a lot of frustration, which I totally understand, but I promise we are not trolls, and we really don't like banning people. What society thinks, I think when you try and describe community management, because it's such a mishmash of like marketing and art and tech support, I feel like this is the image that anyone thinks of, so hence why the image. What I think I do, I think when I initially made this meme, I thought, oh, this is really clever, but now it needs some explanation, so it's not very clever. But I think the sense of heroism you feel when you help out a player is really quite gratifying, and hence the meme. And what I actually do, everything. Like a mix match, like a mix up of different things. So I'm quite new to the industry, but I've had some experience in startup, where we've just built communities from the ground up, and now I work in a community that's a really fully fledged and thriving community. So I'm going to share some things I've learned along the way. 2 things I think are really key practice in community management, and one is probably aims towards community managers who are creating a community from the ground up. So one of the things I learned when I worked in a startup company was that, you know, when you start from scratch, it's really easy to get lost. You know, if we're going to post more things, you know, get more engagement, you know, we'll get more exposure. But once you start building a community and you've had this exposure, and people aren't, you know, sticking with the game, it's really disheartening. And I think it's really important to take time to stop and assess that. So does your game, like, if you're doing everything you can marketing wise, you have to start looking at, does your game have the mechanics for the kind of audience that you're looking for and the kind of things you're promoting? And does your game have the building blocks in place for a community to flock to? Like, will people naturally kind of gather around this and get excited about it? And if not, like, are there other aspects that need to give it your attention? And it's really important to discuss that with your team. So I'm going to jump into my second point, which is extinguishing imposter syndrome. I think because there's not a degree in community management, it's really easy to fall into this, you know, I'm not qualified, and I do it myself. I constantly have imposter syndrome. But I think what people forget is no matter your background, you're going to always have something relevant to bring. So whether you're an artist, you've got marketing experience, you know, whether you've got sales experience, or if you're a streamer on Twitch and you've built a community, like, these are interpersonal skills which are super, super important, and these are things you're going to build on anyway. So I think it's really, really important to remember that no community manager has the same skill set as another. And I think once you're in the role, you're not limited by the skills that you've brought. You're always kind of expanding on these, and I feel like for myself, when I jump into a role, I make a point of kind of figuring out where my strengths and my weaknesses lie, and I kind of work with those who have the strengths that are my weaknesses to just kind of build on that, and learn, because that's what it is. You're constantly learning. So the last point I'm going to make is about boundaries. It's really easy to want to be involved in your community, you know, especially when you love your job and, you know, you really want to do the job to the best of your ability. But I think, and it's hard for me to preach this because I've been in the situation where you are in an indie startup, and, you know, you want to create a rapport and you want to be active and approachable to the players. But I think once you run the risk of falling in a rabbit hole. So if you make yourself too available, you know, you're setting yourself an unreal expectation, and it's not healthy for you or your community. So once you're done with work, like, close your work tabs. You know, that Discord message you were chatting, or someone you were chatting with on Discord, you know, close Discord, you know, reply to the messages when you start work tomorrow, you know. And for me, this is something I learned from other CMs, and I didn't take it on at the time, but I think once I started to implement it, like, you relax and you come into work the next day feeling like excited to go back to work because you've had that downtime. So that's my 3 points. I hope this has been useful. It's a lot more serious and far less soppy than me talking about my cats. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to get in touch via my socials or at the end of the chat. So thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much, Jan.
Amazing. Thank you, Jan.
Hello. Yes. Thank you so much, Jan. It's so interesting getting to hear a bit of behind the scenes of what community managers do. Lots of people saying in the chat that community managers are the unsung heroes for all the great work they do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've got 2 more amazing guests lined up for our Q&A. But first, we're going to have another short section of some amazing games being developed in our region. Enjoy these videos.
Tapeworm Disco Puzzle is coming to Kickstarter on December the 16th. The demo is already available. Play it in the description. And here's the trailer. Hope you like it. Follow for more.
Hi everyone, my name's Lucy. I'm a composer and musician working in and around games, but I'm also a self-taught games designer. And I'm just here to show you a bit about the interactive music tool I've been making over the last month or so that Arcadia have so kindly included in their showcase, so thanks a lot for that. This is a project that I've been calling my procrastination project. It's something that's helped me just get more focused on learning game design and trying to finish something that you could actually call a complete working interactive game or tool in some way. And it's also been a really nice way to get together with my game designer and artist pal Michelle Chen, who's done all the brilliant art that you're going to see. I'll just give you a little sample. The whole idea is it's a way to make little musical tunes and kind of play around and be creative with what was a Halloween themed game. The whole idea is that you can select notes and you can build your own tune. And when you've got the notes that you like, you just hit play up here and you can play it. To hear it, Pumpkin sings it for you. You can also speed up the playback rate. And you can record as well if you want to save anything you've been making. So if you do check out Pumpkin Player, please do tweet us. You can tweet me at Lucy Holland to let us hear what you've been making, especially if the audio you make, you can use it as a sample or just to keep it, but especially if it inspires a new piece, that would be really cool to hear. And so there's a few more things I also want to do with Pumpkin Player generally. I'd like to make the music more flexible, for example. Right now it's set to 1 scale, but it'd be nice to give you more opportunities to change the music, which will hopefully inspire even more creativity. I'll chuck you over to Michelle, who's going to tell you more about the art and making that.
Thank you, Lucy. So with this pumpkin, it's actually inspired by an actual pumpkin. Insert photo here. Was sadly, dearly departed, turned into soup, but it will live on forever in Pumpkin Player. So I drew all of the animations in Adobe Animate, which is the descendant of dearly departed Flash. So the animations, and since we are a little late for Halloween, so now it's a Santa pumpkin. I guess that's about it. Well, I hope you enjoy Pumpkin Player as much as we do. Bye.
Thank you, Michelle, and big thanks again to everyone at Arcadia for letting us show our little game, and for everyone who's come along. It's been brilliant to see all of the games and hear about all of the talent that's going on in the industry just now. So thanks again for having us be part of it.
Hello, we're back.
Hey, welcome back. That was awesome.
Hello.
Great to see lots of amazing people making some cool stuff. Big shout out to our pal Lucy. Right, so 2 more guests. Firstly, let me introduce Jack King Spooner. Jack King Spooner is an artist, amongst other things. He's made dozens or so video game works, and his video games, in his own words, are messy mashups of whatever is on his mind. Jack is an amazing talent that we have in Scotland, and I highly recommend you check out his games. Also, he's very active and shares his posts on Twitter. So let's roll up Jack's presentation.
Let's go.
Hi there, my name is Jack King Spooner and I make games. I make other things, but you're listening to me on this video recording because I make games. You might find yourself thinking, what should I make? Or something like that. I don't know what to make, or I've got so many ideas, where should I start? Firstly, make what you want. And make what you can. If you don't want to make, don't make. You're not a maker. That's fine. If you want to make, find time to make. Make anything. Whittle a stick. Record that song you've been humming in the toilet. Try to put into words that terrifying idea which is looming over you. Write 40 questions and 40 answers and then mix them all up. Make anything. It will all feed back into this recognition that you are a maker. Tackle any theme. You are a filter through which meaning flows. The filtration itself might be meaningful. On the contrary, you, yourself, are probably not as interesting a topic as you might think. There is no self. The you that you are is in flux. Be generous. Give as much as you can. But what to give? Give interpretations. Give whimsy. Give love. Share your ideas. Share ugliness. Give love. Give love. Give love. Share things that you have spent hours being with, hours listening to, hours looking at. Give truth. Ugliness is beautiful when it is truthful. There are gradations of truth. Here's an example. Person 1. Honey, your imperfections are beautiful. His finger traces the line of a scar. Person 2. You are so full of Both statements have truth. One has more truth. Be careful. Be careful not to give things you don't want to give. They might be impossible to revoke. They might start to lead you down a path you don't want to go down. Edit your work. You might think a page of stream of consciousness text is marvelous. Think how better it will be when edited down to a tight 3 sentences. Even Pollock only showed his best bits. Try to collaborate less. Collaboration means compromise. Collaboration sounds like some kind of corporate capitalist hell. If you collaborate, give the others work to dream inside. If you collaborate, only collaborate with people whose work you can dream inside. Dream wild. The world feeds off wild dreams. The wildest dreams come closest to the truth of it all. There are a great many circle dances. Identify them and sit them out. I know people want this shallowness, to bask in absorbing escape. This brutal killing of time. But time is all we have. We have but time. We have but time to make. And talking of time, that's my 5 minutes up. Thank you.
Whoa. I'm like mind blown.
Whoa. Mind blown.
I'm like mind blown.
So good. Mind blown. So good.
So good.
Thank you so much, Jack. And you know what? I think Jack can join us for the Q&A and soon. So please do keep those questions coming in.
I love that music. I love that music like coming in the background. I was like, is this from the video? This is amazing.
I don't know what to do with myself right now, to be honest. I'm like, I've been moved elsewhere, so I'm on another level.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, wow, one more guest. I'm just like, wow. The evening is gone, just disappeared like that. So, Susie, you want to introduce our next amazing guest, another one?
And the last amazing guest. Yes. So next we have Gab, who is a critic and curator from and based in the wonderful city of Liverpool. Yeah, I visited once, it was amazing. She writes about games on the White Pube, a website co-ran by Zarina that covers exhibitions and the wider creative industries. And Gab's writing, I've been reading for many years, so I'm very excited to have her here. She's been doing some great games writing recently, so can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Hi, my name is Gabrielle Della Puente and I work in the arts, ish. I have 2 jobs. I run Output Gallery in Liverpool and I also run a website with my friend called The White Pube where we've been writing about exhibitions for years and years, and it's been very fun. But then, lockdown happened and all the galleries closed and I had to figure out what else to write about because I had a job to do. But it was interesting because I ended up turning my attention to the art I still had access to, which happened to be something that I've loved since childhood and something that actually I might have more words for compared to art, and I hadn't realised until now. That is, I started to review games instead, and it's been a fun challenge to try and write around something that's multi-dimensional. It's also I also had this realization that like I think there's more happiness around gaming, like around specific games, but also the culture of gaming. Like there's a certain love that comes through in like fan culture and conventions and like YouTube channels with 7-hour-long videos dissecting lore, you know, explaining an ending of something. It's great. And I think one of the ways like this love comes through most clearly is in people coming forward and announcing like their game of the year as if they specifically are an awarding body. I think it's really sweet. I love it. Like I had never heard this phrase used before until like I stepped over into game world, and now I don't know, I just think it's like the nicest thing ever that people will, you know, want to give thanks to something that has given them a lot of enjoyment or has just mattered to them for, you know, a ton of different reasons. If I step back and look over my 2020, like a lot of different things have happened. You know, originally I was living with my nan and I was learning to take care of her. I was learning to take care of the garden outside, so she had something nice to look at out the window. And I was doing that because my granddad had died 2 years ago and no one else had looked after it, and I was just trying to fix it all up. And at the same time, I played Metazione, and I think like between the family, the flowers, and the care, it felt like almost spooky. Like this game knew something about me. Like it was fate, or I don't know, it just captured something that was going on, and it really surprised me, and it felt really nice to play that. Obviously, I mean, Animal Crossing has meant a lot and done a lot. I could use it to like wean myself off the news and could visit family members. Like there was a moment where my sister had graduated from her firefighting training academy, but all of the celebrations got cancelled and we couldn't even see her, obviously. And at the same time, I found like an in-game firefighting outfit in Animal Crossing and could visit her island and drop it off outside her house, and it was really nice. It felt like a special thing to do. And like the opposite end of that spectrum is I played a lot of Call of Duty with my fiance because we couldn't see each other, and it was really nice to like have this sort of frenzy space where we could like be a bit mad together because we had this barrier and all this like frustration between us because we couldn't even hang out, just running around shipment like over and over again all day. But yeah, that was special as well. If I had to give my game of the year, I don't know why I keep doing this, game of the year feels special. It's Death Stranding. It's got to be Death Stranding. I know it didn't come out this year, but I think it grew into itself this year, so let me have it. It's a game that, you know, came out November 2019, but predicted so much of what would go on to happen for us. It feels special in that way because it's almost like, you know, the way The Simpsons seems to just like magically know what's going to happen in the world. Like, how do they get so much right? It's a game that has left me feeling really prepared for whatever is going to happen in life. And I think the best way I can explain that is I had CBT a few years ago with a therapist who like dared me to turn my anxieties into challenges so that they would become things I could beat. And 2020 is in this game, like Death Stranding is 2020 made into a game I can beat, and that feels amazing. That feels like really powerful, and that has helped me through all of its like gorgeous, horrible, gruesome art, like process what's gone on and accept what's gone on. And yeah, I feel like I've taken a bit of power back from it or something, and I can't believe that a game has helped me do that. So it can have my game of the year. I feel like I should put like a little trophy in a cargo container and just start walking to Japan to give it to Kojima Productions. And do you know what, maybe if I started walking now, by the time I got there, the pandemic would be over. We'll see, fingers crossed. Otherwise I'll just say it over the internet and they'll never hear me. But happy game of the year, Death Stranding, and thank you for everything in this game. I think it's really special. Okay, that's my game of the year. Let me know what yours is. Bye.
May I never forget you. Thank you.
Woohoo! Game of the year.
So good.
Game of the year.
I totally so good. Vote for that too as my game of the year.
I still need to play it, but it's on my list. I'm gonna do it.
I put like 400 hours into that game.
That's
like, it was a
mad.
lockdown. It was insane, absolutely insane. But I'd play it when my little baby was asleep, and he'd just be asleep on me, and I'd be playing it for hours. And it was just, it's really interesting how games allow us to kind of bring ourselves into it. Anyway, enough about our chat. Let's bring our guests in for the final Q&A. Let's do that now. Bring back Jung in as well. See what you guys have been saying on the YouTubes. Jen. Here we go. So Anissa's back. Jungin, Jack, Jen, and Gab. Des is probably still in that meeting, so I'll leave him be. Thank you so much. Those was like, and then everyone was like next level. So amazing talks. Thank you all.
Thanks for having me. That was
of course, Jack. You all.
It's very cool. What a great lineup. Everyone was really good, really inspiring.
Thank you, Jack. So Jung-in, do we have some questions for our guests?
There was one question to Jen. As a community manager, how much of the development process and content you are aware of prior to release of a game?
Quite a lot, actually. We're notoriously really nosy. That's one thing that kind of every CM probably is. At least everyone I know. So we spend most of our days like scrolling through the Slack channels, trying to find any pieces of art or any new builds. But because we've got such a large community, we probably spend like a couple of months prior to the game release just testing the mechanics and getting to know it before it goes out and people start asking questions. So hoping that answers it.
Yeah, fantastic. Actually, that was the only question. I think people got just a bit tired by now, but just enjoying watching people's talk.
That's fair enough. I think let's have a wee chat anyway. I think
and if any of the speakers have questions for any of the other speakers as well, then
absolutely. Des is joining us too. Des has probably signed another multi-million pound deal. That's fun. So he's joined us.
All it takes 20 minutes.
So we're opening up to our guests. Does anyone have any questions for your fellow guests?
Yeah, I was going to ask what everyone's game of the year is. I was like wondering about this. I thought it was quite a nice way to end the lineup by asking that question.
Good shout, yeah.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Hades. Hands down, Hades. Best game. It was the one game that after I finished my 5-minute video, I was like, oh no, I didn't put in any Hades references in that. So okay, I can finally get a word out. It's a great game. Everyone should play it. And the Game Awards is literally in a few hours from here. From now. And I think it should win all 8 categories that it's nominated for. Like I don't care. Death Stranding can't win. Nah, it's Hades.
Amazing. I've got to be honest, I like seeing all your tweets about it. I'm going to have to buy it basically because I think everyone talks about the feel of it and the UX, and I just can't wait. I can't wait to try it at Christmas, actually, personally.
It's actually good.
That game is so good that I don't like roguelikes or roguelites, and I've played the shit out of it. Like the narrative, the lore, and the fact that like the rogueliteness is built into the lore, it just makes it work. Like.
Yeah.
However, I'm turning out because I'm getting bored. Like, I want the content now. I want to get all the narrative now. It's like, you've had me for 60 hours. That's enough.
I would say sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say The Last of Us 2. I think I started playing at the start of lockdown, but then things got really depressing. The game got really depressing, so I stopped. And then I got back into it, and I was like, man, this is really good. And then I spent like 3 days crying like consecutively while trying to finish the game. I was like, this game's really good. I feel things. This is like, it's quite nice, but I haven't like had the emotional strength to start another story game. So I'm like, I think that's done it for me.
It's just broken you altogether.
A little bit, yeah.
Jack, how about yourself?
Listen, I don't really play games.
You can tell us your favorite something else if you want of the year.
There was a Eurovision Song Contest entry from like Iceland, but then Eurovision. I like that. But I played a game called Molly and the Gun Mids on Eurovision, not on Game Jolt. Eurovision on the mind, I'm afraid. Molly and the Gun Mids on Game Jolt is by my friend, and it's just incredible. I love it. Molly and the Gun Mids. I'm gonna say it again. It's by Jake Clover. It's called Molly and the Gun Mids. Look, it's not anything like nice to look at or listen to or play, but it's great. So that. All right.
You should work in advertising.
Well, there's always an option. Isn't it?
I think we have a few questions, if I can keep up with them. Someone said, everyone seems very young, so what's next for the games industry? I don't know if those two things are related. I'm not sure.
I feel old.
I don't feel young.
I am not young.
Like, the fact that I'm streaming on YouTube, it feels weird for me right now. So.
VR's next. Next year is the year of VR.
Yeah.
Wait.
VR.
Des is laughing. we did.
You're pulling my leg. I almost got that idiom wrong. You're pulling my leg. Yeah, I think there's going to be a serious turn towards games which aren't fun. That there's going to be games which are really like kind of following on from things like the beginner's guide and things like that, which are more cerebral experiences which force people to think for themselves, and that's definitely, it's just going to happen because that's what all other art forms are kind of had a renaissance period to do, and I think games are ready to do that. I mean, they've obviously started going back to the past 20 years, even past 40 years. They've started doing that, but I think it's going to become more, just like we're going to start seeing more commercial games doing this, and more commercial games maybe kind of starting to branch over into other spaces, like a game in a cinema or something like that. That's probably happened. I don't follow games at all. But okay, all right. I'm actually going to stop answering questions.
No, it's some great points there, Jack. I mean, I would argue that things like Death Stranding kind of do that. Even Last of Us Part 2, because I recently finished that game and I found the whole end sequence horrible and I didn't want to play it. But it has some amazing characters and story, and so games are starting to do that. I think that it shows a bit of we are maturing as a medium.
No, that was me being optimist. I've just realized that's not going to happen at all. It's going to go completely the opposite way, and games are going to become more vacuous, more insidiously addictive, and they're going to have more monetization. Is that the word? And there's going to be a government impact on that, because it's going to get to a breaking point when children start killing their parents.
Possibly. I think both things.
Yeah, okay, I'm not answering it.
I think both things could be true. I think there's a chance that'll happen, but I think likewise there'll be. I think the biggest thing for me is more diverse people are making these things, and so naturally going to get more content, more different types of content. It's culturally more, representative of the planet rather than, the West or whatever, or Japan, or whatever the kind of powerhouses were. Those things are shifting. So
I'm gonna say that the future of games will be accessible.
Yeah.
The Last of Us 2 obviously kind of smashed that out of the water this year with all the accessibility options, and a lot of people who are being recognized for their efforts right now are not just about diversity, but also accessibility. We have a lot of advocates for that as well. And it's become like a thing that people just consider straight off the bat, like when you start a project, rather than tacked on towards the end, where like you add subtitle font sizes or whatever, but like, you know, really actual accessibility from the start.
Except for Cyberpunk.
So many words for that, and none of them are good.
Thank goodness this event is on the launch day of Cyberpunk, right? Or was that yesterday? Yeah.
The day,
You had them in your talk.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of annoying that it is.
You're
Doesn't
a
mean
shill.
I like it.
Come on. Yeah.
I think there is a good question in the chat, if we have time.
Go for it.
How does everyone feel about community in the games industry? Does it feel like developers reach out to each other enough, or you feel that as an industry we could do more to connect?
To who?
Everyone, anyone.
Everyone. Yeah, everyone.
I think it's a mixture. So, the quick answer is yes. You know, developers, especially at the, let's call it indie level, like they're more open to talking to each other. Obviously, the bigger you get, apparently there's competitive advantage that, you know, by not talking to each other. However, within that, I do think video games is still quite cliquey. So you've got, I mean, obviously you've got your clusters, like your regional clusters, which I think is also a good thing. Like you want to grow regions at a time rather than just teams. But yeah, the cliquing is still a thing. You know, and that applies to certain clubs that you're in or certain income brackets that you're in. And you see it happen all the time. And I do a lot of work kind of like at the entry level of the industry, and you see people like churn out after months, and you're just like, well, why? Like, you know, you barely tried. And yeah, they're just like, oh, I didn't really, the sense of community wasn't there. I was like, oh, snap. Okay, well, we got to get better at that. But yeah.
Cool. Anyone else want to comment?
I mentioned in mine that like I've come from an arts background, and I wrote about artists and exhibitions for 4 years ish, and then switched to games for the past year. And it's like a whole different sense of like connection in the art world. As a writer and as an artist, people don't speak to each other. There isn't really a community. It feels like very individualistic, very quiet. I don't know, people hold things close to the chest. And then as soon as I came over to games and I started to write about games, it was the first time that like the people I was writing about were getting in touch with me, good or bad, whatever it was that I was writing about. I mean, 4 years in the art industry, that just doesn't happen. It's the first time that other writers got in touch to speak about the game was that I was interested in. So from that angle, it feels like there is a good sense of community, but I know for developers, there's different problems there.
Yeah. Sorry, Des, you started.
No, I was just gonna say, why do you think that is, Gabrielle? Like, why do you think artists don't want to engage?
I don't know. I honestly even if I'd written the most glowing review of an exhibition and I was like, this changed my life, silence. It's
so weird.
It's almost something I got used to because I'd done it for years, and then I came over to games and I was like, wait, what? I can't make sense of it. I don't know why it is. I think no, I just honestly have no answers whatsoever. I'll have a think. I'll let you know if I can. Maybe it'd be worth me asking those people. Like, why did you never say anything about that?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say that I run Limit Break on the side, which is a mentorship program for underrepresented genders. But outside of being a mentorship program, what it does is actually connecting people as well. And games can be insular, and just like Des said, like it could be cliquey as well. And you're insular in your own little bubble. So like people in London tend to only socialize with other Londoners, and I've had some people from say Northern Ireland and from Scotland in the program who are like, oh, I'm so happy that you've opened this up to the rest of the UK. So like, because during year 1, it was just London because we wanted to make everything physical and meet up in person. But year 2, the Rona happened. So I was like, okay, let's just go online. And we've gotten to like cast a wider net and got bigger. And obviously for year 3, we have bigger and better plans. And I'm just excited to be able to not only connect developers to each other, but also like there's a lot of people who are outside the industry looking in and they want a foot into the door. So like I do match up a few people who want to break into the industry with current developers. And they're just like, oh, wow, like they make those connections from there when previously it might seem like an impenetrable thing to get into. So we're trying, and I know for a fact that Limit Break is not unique in how it's structured, in a sense that like we have Park and Play, we have into games, we have X, Y, and Z, like all of these grassroots organizations happening. And the best part about that is that everybody who are starting all these things, they're developers themselves. Like we see the issue in a sense that like we need to open the gates. Like I think the old guard is very gatekeepy, and the new guard is very much like, open the gates, let everybody in. Yeah, fuck it, whatever. Woo. That's what I want to happen.
That's a good shout, and I think maybe that's in line with the previous comment about it being a younger, broadly speaking, a much younger community of people making this games or art, whatever. So I think that does help. There's definitely an old guard, and there's definitely one in somewhere like Dundee where we're based, where there's been a rich history of heritage, you would say, of games making. But there's definitely kind of an old guard and a new generation coming through, like the Bitloom guys, for example, who are very much involved in community activities, which is really nice to see, actually. So, yeah, cool. Any more questions, Jung-in, or?
No more questions. I think people become more philosophical, by reaching the end of the talk.
You've done it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a question about like live streaming. So I have hang on a minute. What do you think of the way Twitch and other platforms have changed the industry as a whole, and the idea that companies build for streamer content, not the game itself?
Jen, would you like to, because I know you do a bit of streaming yourself, would you like to have a go with that?
Yeah, I think, sorry, my cat is like, and they've been asleep all day, and they've now just come out to play, and I'm like, please just stop. Try to put my computer off as I keep moving it shut. But yeah, no, I think things like Twitch, for example, like Fall Guys, like is probably the best example of that. It went from being this like little indie, I say little indie startup, like it wasn't really heard of, and then it was streamed, and it just blew up, like, and that a mixture of that and the Twitter and the reactions. I think Twitch is great. Maybe it's just because I'm a little biased and I streamed, but I think it's really good. I guess it depends on the game. If you're creating a multiplayer game, I think like using Twitch and building content on it makes sense, like tons of sense. But I'm just going to read the question again. But I don't know if I've seen many games myself that I would say specifically cater content just to Twitch, unless it's like something with like an integrated Twitch feature. Maybe I'm wrong.
You get that more often nowadays, but I think for me, from my take, it was been interesting is that it's shown that more people watch games and play them. That the audiences for our content are actually bigger than the players. So which I think is very, very important to note.
Yeah, I think as a company as well, it's if you release a game and someone picks it up, all it takes is one streamer to pick it up and then broadcast, and that's multiple picking it up, whether it's on sale, which is usually the prime time people actually do stream games. They're like, oh, just going to try this out. I know from working in like a small startup, when we went into beta, and a YouTuber with a couple of million picked up the game and was like, oh, I'll give this a go, and it got tons of downloads in the weekend. We were like, wow, what happened? What blew up? It's insane. And it was just for being streamed on Twitch.
There's another interesting question.
We'll have to probably one more question. Yeah.
Okay, the last one. So there's somebody who was asking, I know who that person is, but my daughter was told by young boys at school she wasn't a gamer. So what's a gamer? Do you guys call yourselves as gamer as well?
She should beat them in a game.
Jack said.
No, she should just beat
That's the
them.
1v1.
Yeah.
I think I don't think it's commonly used, to be honest with you, within the game making community. Obviously, people identify that. There are people who part of society who identify that with that label. But I don't think it's common within the game making community, as far as I'm aware.
When I sent my bio to use for this, you added like critic, curator, gamer, and I was like, yes.
That was me.
There's just like there's nothing cool in the art version. Like there's nothing like culture vulture, like all that stuff. Like it's not cool. Gamer for me feels like such a novelty. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, there was lots of discussion about, gamer culture actually in game industry. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think it was about Riot Games. They call themselves as, gamer, and they have this bro culture. So there's discrimination against the woman, all these things. But maybe things have changed now. So that's why I think it's quite related to that kind of this bro culture, those specific gamers actually.
Yeah, I think if that makes me want to use it more. Do you know what I mean?
I think the thing is, like, your granny that plays a game on her phone, every weekend, she's a gamer.
Yeah.
Like, anyone that plays a game, then surely they're a gamer. That's what they're doing. They're just playing a game. So, yeah, tell your daughter to, as Gab said, beat those boys in a game.
Or maybe you don't want to be a gamer. Maybe a gamer has the connotations of all these nasty things, the kind of racist slurs on Twitch streams and the homophobia and all these things. Like, yeah, I'm not a gamer. Good. I don't know.
But I feel like it's nice to reclaim certain words like queer. I think like it's not totally next to each other, but in the same way of like if people want to take that back, it's quite nice. It's like, no, it's all of ours. We can all do this activity. We can have it.
I've got another counterpoint as well. Like, do we just about the Twitch thing? Like, I'm not sure I like the Twitch thing. If you people, a game is seen by a Twitcher. Is that what they call it? Twitcher, and, millions of people then go buy it, but they'll buy it with presuppositions. They'll buy it coming to it having someone else's opinions already like in front of their face before they have this amazing kind of experience between them and the game. I'm not. I mean, of course, I would never like copyright slam someone for playing my game on Twitch. If that's their existence, I'm not gonna, whatever. But I'd prefer someone to come to my games afresh, having heard someone say, look, don't play this or whatever. Okay, just another counter example. Also, a third counter example is I've got a great community of artists. My artist friends are still there, but I don't really have a similar community of game developers. And yeah, anyway, just being a bit of a cheeky monkey there.
I mean, I think what I like about Twitch is just that I can appreciate the different relationships that people have. So, a lot of streamers that I watch for 5 minutes, have really good relationship with their fans, and so in that respect, they are kind of like word of mouth. So like, oh hey, like you've been watching me for a couple of months, like I always do fighting games. And I keep it real, so like you should play this one because like A, you see me play it, and B, you trust my opinion. Like, and that like because word of mouth's very powerful, right? And I think that's what these it's a great phrase, Twitchers. I'm going to use it now. That's what these Twitchers have, and I think part of your point that I do agree with is like the mega streamers, right? Like the let's call them dickheads, I guess. Who just go too far the other way, right? Who are just more about themselves and their own celebrity and stuff like that. Like, yeah, Because I've seen that. Like they've said something just because they like it, it's just gone batshit, and you're just like, oh, okay, that's not. I mean, they're not quality users, right? That's like almost like cultism.
Yeah, I think there's a comment in the chat about that by Albert Elwin that Twitch is content too, and a lot of people watch it for the streamers more than the games. Like, if you want to spend time with someone's personality in this kind of it is a parasocial relationship, whatever. But if that's what you want, then it's there and it's fun. I do personally. I only watch streams of like games like Fall Guys because I don't want anything spoiled, and if I want to play a game, I want it, as you said, to be like a completely fresh experience. But if something's a little bit lighter and a game that you can kind of see the edges of, then I'll watch like Among Us. Like I'll watch hours and hours of streams of Corpse Husband playing the game.
But also video game is a pastime that rewards people with money. Like a lot of people can't afford a lot of games, so the only way they could experience the game is through somebody else.
Absolutely.
Fair play to them. And similar to like vibes of someone, sometimes it's not the game, sometimes it's the people. I know a lot of people listen to podcasts that they don't care what the content is about just because they like the people in that podcast. I've done that before, where like I really don't care what they're talking about because I'm doing work, but it's nice background noise. I'm like, these are nice people. I wish I had more friends.
I think one other bonus I'm going to add about Twitch is if your game does get picked up, it's free like advertising that like no one's really expects anything from you. They're just kind of taking an interest and having a go. And if they don't like it, they tend to be more, especially the bigger streamers, more vocal about it. But I think it's super beneficial and like
beneficial
point
to
you made.
what, though? Like beneficial to sales, because I don't really care about sales. I'm gonna die poor. I care about meaning and truth, and it's really not beneficial to. If we're gonna value money above meaning and truth, then fair enough, it is beneficial and great and everything like that. But
I think it's about extremes, though. I think there are extremes where you can point at it, a particular extreme where it's clearly not good for society, right? But there's lots of.
It's really not good for society.
But I think the meaning and truth thing, like just because like you can't find a certain type of meaning and a certain type of truth in watching someone stream doesn't mean that like I can't, and I've plenty of it.
Yeah, I know.
And it's just it's what someone's looking for, what they need in that moment, and the way that content is delivered, the form it's in, like it just matches up with other people better than maybe you.
No, that's a very beautiful point as well. It might depreciate the meaning of the game, but the game might have not been that, not have much to say beyond like the thrill of the playing of it, and therefore the Twitcher actually brings a great deal of meaning to it, a great deal of entertainment, and beautiful point.
Performance, it's performance. You could argue that it's just performance as well, which is an art form its own right. But before all that, it's also a sense of community and belonging, because I feel it just on a very fundamental level, it's just sharing. And if you look at it with that, I think it's quite beautiful actually. People being able to share, having fun, enjoying something, and as Anissa's point about making it accessible to some people, because games is quite an expensive art form actually. So
there's plenty. I've spoken to quite a lot of people this year who've said to me, "Oh, I've not played Death Stranding. I don't own a PlayStation, but I've watched the entire YouTube video where all of the cutscenes are put together because I wanted to know what it was like." And the same for plenty of other games like Shadow of the Colossus and such. Like, it's really nice that is in a place where people can get it without access to any kind of console or gaming computer.
I think I'm sure we could keep talking about this for ages, but we're already over time. I want to just get all of you and all the speakers from the first half just in a big room, and for everyone to have a big discussion. That would be absolutely amazing. Got one last thing that I want to present just before you all go and we wrap things up. So Gab, you're saying that you really like awards that people give out for Game of the Year. And I did want to make something better, but I ran out of time. So while your talk was on, I made something that is the White Pube Game of the Year award. I'm going to have to take off my background 1 second because I didn't... I just stopped my video because I didn't think you'll see it with the background off.
And it's full glory.
So
yeah.
you'll
so excited.
You'll see my real... Is it off now? Oh, no. Oh, sorry. I was talking to Mal about this the other day. The one thing I can't do is Zoom. I can do everything else. I can't do Zoom. So we, Mal and I, Biome Collective, InGame present to you the White Pube Game of the Year Award.
I like that it says hope on the Pringles can. Why?
That was totally planned. We'll send this to you, and you can display it anywhere you like.
Thank you very much.
And next year we can get another Pringles tube. It'll be a thing.
Oh, a new tradition.
Word on it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Right. Massive thank you to our wonderful guests. You guys have been amazing. Wow, such amazing talks, inspiring stuff, great conversation. Thank you so much for participating in this, and sorry for running a bit late this evening. And our audience listening and watching in the Biome Gallery and YouTube, thank you so much. We're going to do some thank yous now. Firstly, goodbye to our wonderful guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch and talks will go up online. Right, you take care, you wonderful people.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. I hope everyone at home's waving again.
Yeah, hope everyone's waving. Come on, guys. Good positive energy, positive vibes.
What's happening?
Are we leaving?
One at a time. One at a time.
One at a time. Take care. Amazing. Right. So, before we join the Biome Gallery for the after party music session, which is going to be fun and amazing, first I just want to do a quick round of thank yous to the amazing team that helped put this evening on together. Firstly, a massive thank you to my co-host, co-producer, co-everything, Susie. She did an amazing job. Likewise to the wonderful Jung-In for doing such an amazing job with the Q&A and keeping you guys in check on YouTube, moderating all the crazy stuff you've been saying. Oh, it's unbelievable. But also behind the scenes, a big shout out to Tom from Biome Collective, first and foremost, for doing all the amazing graphic design in collaboration with Tommy too. So
I finally put the background the right way around halfway through, if anyone noticed that.
Messaging saying, she's got it on the wrong way, what's going on? So Tom and Tommy, thank you so much for the wonderful job. You guys have been amazing, really amazing visuals and aesthetic. Big shout out to Sam, who's doing our social media. We borrowed Sam from Creative Dundee for the evening. We do that occasionally because he's wonderful.
Thanks,
on
Sam.
the social media. Hi Sam, we love you, Sam. Whoop, whoop. Big shout out to our partner, InGame Dundee, which is a great research initiative. They might be in touch following this to do some kind of questionnaire, which would be really helpful. Also, a small shout out to SGDA Scotland, who really were helpful with the newsletter and everything. I think that's everything and everyone. I guess lastly, to our wonderful guests, thank you for putting up with us. Thank you for the comments. Sorry for the delay. It's been an interesting experiment for us to do online for the first time. I think it's been a great success. So thank you so much. Hopefully more to come from Biome Collective in this space.
I have one more thank you. One more thank you. Thank you, Mal, for being my co everything for this. Get me involved. It's been amazing. Great.
No, of course.
Great work.
And thank you, Susie, as well.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jung-In.
You're the tech person behind. Like you did all this magic. You know?
These people are slowly just switching off right now.
Yeah. We'll keep going and just. But yeah. So hopefully we'll see you in the Biome Gallery.
So join the Biome Gallery. It's an interactive space where there's going to be some fun and games and there'll be some music. So please join us in the Biome Gallery. You should have the link.
There's a link in the description of the video as well.
So join it, have some fun. Yeah, that's us. That's us done. So thank you so much. Love to you all. Any other thoughts, guys?
No, think that's us. Yeah, just
cool.
Thank you for an amazing night, and we hope to see you all again.
See you in the gallery.
Bye.